Welcome to a sanctuary hidden at the edge of the world. Allow the relentless clamor of the modern era to fade, falling away like brittle leaves swept up in a sudden, fierce autumn gale. Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath, drawing in the cool, untamed air of an older time. As you exhale, imagine the invisible tethers of your daily life dissolving, releasing you into a profound and ancient stillness. We are winding the clock backward, crossing turbulent, dark oceans and soaring over centuries of forgotten history, leaving the frantic, breathless pace of the present far behind. You are stepping into a realm where the frantic ticking of a clock holds no power, where time is instead measured by the slow, steady settling of a peat fire and the deliberate, rhythmic pull of a bone needle through heavy cloth. The year is 1540, and you have arrived in the remote, majestic expanse of the Scottish Highlands. Today, however, the grand, towering peaks of ancient granite and the deep, sweeping glens of emerald green are completely hidden from the eye. A dense, heavy fog has rolled in directly from the vast, freezing expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. It is not merely a mist, but a thick, rolling sea of white vapor that has entirely swallowed the landscape. It moves like a living, breathing leviathan, wrapping its cold tendrils around the craggy hillsides and smothering the valley in a blanket of absolute isolation. The air outside is biting and sharp, carrying the salty tang of the distant ocean mingled with the rich, damp scent of wet heather, crushed bracken, and dark, soaked earth. The fog is so absolute, so incredibly dense, that it creates a secluded, intimate pocket of the universe, hiding this small corner of the earth from the rest of civilization. Yet you are not destined to wander endlessly in this freezing, disorienting mist. Just ahead of you, emerging from the blinding white fog like a steadfast lighthouse guiding lost ships through a storm, stands a small, low-slung stone croft. Its walls are extraordinarily thick, painstakingly built from massive, uneven boulders gathered directly from the surrounding hills. These stones were fitted together by calloused hands that intimately understood the brutal, unforgiving force of Highland winters. The heavy thatched roof above is strapped down tightly with thick ropes and weighted with heavy stones, creating a sturdy, immovable fortress designed to withstand the most violent gales. From a small, deeply recessed window cut into the thick stone, a single, unwavering beam of rich amber light cuts through the grey gloom. It is a beacon of profound, inviting warmth, calling you closer, urging you to seek refuge from the biting cold. You step up to the heavy oak door, your eyes tracing the blackened, hand-forged iron hinges that have stubbornly held fast against decades of howling Atlantic winds. As you press your palm against the rough, weather-beaten wood, you can already feel a faint, promising trace of the heat radiating from within. You push the heavy door inward, and it yields with a low, drawn-out groan of ancient timber. The moment you cross the threshold, the atmosphere undergoes an immediate and magical transformation. You pull the heavy door shut behind you, and the dull, distant roar of the wind and the numbing chill of the fog are instantly severed. The harshness of the elements is locked outside, entirely banished from this space. You have entered a true sanctuary. Inside this small, thick-walled croft, the air is thick with a rich, smoky heat that immediately goes to work, thawing the deep cold from your weary bones. The room is enveloped in a deep, protective shadow, illuminated solely by the mesmerizing, glowing heart of the croft, a central peat fire burning steadily on a blackened stone hearth. The flames are low and comforting, dancing in hypnotic shades of fiery orange, deep crimson, and soft gold, casting long, slow-moving shadows that stretch and flicker across the rugged stone walls. The scent within the room is intoxicating and deeply nostalgic, a fragrance that speaks volumes of ancient comforts and quiet human endurance. It is the unmistakable aroma of burning peat, sweet, earthy, and richly complex, mingling seamlessly with the distinct heavy scent of natural unwashed wool. There are notes of damp earth, the faint herbal sweetness of dried heather hanging from the soot-stained wooden rafters, and the overwhelming sense of profound safety that comes from being enclosed in a warm, dry space while a storm prowls impotently outside. Sitting on a low, highly polished wooden bench beside the hearth is the tailor. They are a figure of absolute, unhurried focus, bathed completely in the golden, flickering light of the fire. Across their lap lies a massive, sprawling expanse of heavy, dark wool, a magnificent kirtle in the making. This is not the delicate, fragile fabric of modern garments. This is thick, robust wool shorn directly from the resilient Highland sheep that roam the crags. It is heavy, substantial, and incredibly dense. It still retains a generous amount of its natural water-resistant lanolin, leaving it feeling slightly slick and immensely durable beneath the fingertips. The tailor holds a smooth, pale bone needle, worn to a soft shine by years of constant use. It is threaded with thick, incredibly strong flax. The room is blanketed in a sacred kind of silence, a profound quiet that is only broken by the most soothing and elemental of sounds. There is the low, occasional pop of the burning peat as it settles deeper into the glowing embers of the hearth. And most prominent of all, there is the rhythmic, slow friction of the ancient craft. The smooth bone needle pierces the dense, heavy fabric with deliberate force. The coarse flax thread is pulled firmly and steadily through the thick wool, creating a continuous rhythmic movement that is as hypnotizing as the dancing flames. Another deliberate stitch is made. Another steady pull of the thread follows. Each motion is unhurried, deeply intentional, and perfectly practiced. There is absolutely no rush here, no looming deadline to chase. The biting cold and the blinding fog of the Highlands cannot penetrate these ancient, formidable stone walls. Here, within this glowing pocket of 1,540, there is only a sense of profound, unshakable safety, eternal warmth, and the mesmerizing, repetitive rhythm of slow, masterful craft. Settle in, find your place by the glowing hearth, and let the steady work of the tailor lull you into a state of absolute, unworried peace. As the heavy oak door remains firmly shut against the encroaching fog, the atmosphere inside the croft settles into an even deeper state of tranquility. The tailor's hands, illuminated by the soft, wavering glow of the peat fire, are a testament to decades of quiet labor. They are weathered and strong, the skin lined with the intricate topography of a life lived close to the harsh Highland elements, yet they move with a startling fluid grace. There is no hesitation in their movements, only the profound confidence of muscle memory built over countless winter evenings, just like this one. You watch as those capable hands manipulate the heavy expanse of dark wool, turning the thick folds of the fabric with a gentle reverence. The garment taking shape across their lap is vast and heavy, designed to be a formidable shield against the very storms that currently rage outside these stone walls. It is a cloak meant for a traveller, a shepherd, or a Highlander who must brave the unforgiving glens when the snows finally arrive. To understand the weight and presence of this fabric is to understand the landscape itself. This wool did not come from afar, it was born on the rugged, wind-battered slopes that surround this very croft. It carries the essence of the resilient sheep that graze among the heather and the gorse, animals bred for endurance. The wool was shorn by hand, washed in the icy, rushing waters of a nearby burn, and then spun into yarn through hours of patient, rhythmic work at a wooden spinning wheel. Because it is meant for the brutal Highland winter, it has not been stripped of its natural oils. The heavy lanolin remains deeply embedded within the fibers, giving the dark cloth a subtle, almost imperceptible sheen in the firelight. This oil makes the wool incredibly dense and inherently resistant to the relentless rains and damp fogs of the Scottish coast. As the ambient heat of the peat fire warms the room, it also subtly warms the wool, releasing that deeply earthy, natural scent into the air. A scent that speaks of the wild hills and the quiet, enduring bond between the land and those who dwell upon it. The needle the tailor uses is a masterpiece of rustic utility. Carved from a smooth piece of pale bone, it has been polished to a gleaming finish by the constant friction of calloused fingers and rough fabric over many years. It catches the amber firelight with every upward motion, a tiny rhythmic flash of white against the dark sea of wool. The thread it pulls is spun from durable flax, thick and remarkably strong, capable of holding the heavy seams together through years of arduous wear. You watch the point of the bone needle find its exact mark, piercing the dense layers of folded wool with a deliberate, practiced pressure. The tailor pulls the long length of flax through, drawing the seam tight with a steady, even tension. Over and over this motion is repeated, creating a line of tiny, perfect stitches that are virtually indestructible. The repetition is profoundly hypnotic. It is a slow, methodical dance of creation, requiring immense patience and yielding a quiet, tangible satisfaction. Beyond the immediate circle of warmth and light cast by the hearth, the corners of the croft dissolve into deep, velvety shadows. The walls, built from massive, uneven stones, absorb the darkness, their rough textures softened by the flickering firelight. Hanging from the low, soot-blackened rafters above are bundles of dried herbs, sweet gale, heather, and wild thyme, their muted colours blending into the gloom, waiting to be used for broths or medicinal teas. A simple wooden dresser stands against one wall, holding a sparse collection of wooden bowls and horn spoons, while a heavy wool blanket rests neatly folded on a low sleeping pallet in the corner. Every object in this small space serves a distinct purpose. There is nothing frivolous here, only the essential tools for survival and comfort. This stark simplicity is incredibly grounding. It strips away the overwhelming complexities of modern existence, leaving only the fundamental necessities: shelter, warmth, and the quiet dignity of honest work. In the hearth, the peat fire continues its slow, radiant burn. Peat is not like wood. It does not roar or crackle with violent energy. Instead, it smoulders with a dense, concentrated heat, glowing deep red and fiery orange beneath a soft layer of fine grey ash. It is the perfect fuel for a long, cold night, providing a steady, unwavering warmth that slowly permeates every inch of the small stone room. Occasionally, the tailor pauses their sewing to reach for a heavy iron poker, gently shifting a block of peat. A small shower of golden sparks drifts upward into the dark chimney, briefly illuminating the soot-stained stones before fading back into the night. The scent of the burning peat is the defining fragrance of the Highlands, a rich, smoky aroma that is both pungent and remarkably sweet, carrying the memory of ancient bogs and centuries of compressed earth. It fills your lungs, relaxing your muscles and easing the tension from your mind with every breath you take. While you sit enveloped in this cocoon of warmth and safety, the world outside seems to exist in a completely different dimension. You can faintly hear the muffled, distant moan of the wind as it sweeps across the desolate moors and presses against the thick exterior walls of the croft. You can imagine the freezing, dense fog rolling relentlessly over the hills, turning the landscape into a blinding white void, but that cold, chaotic world cannot touch you here. The massive stones of the croft act as an impenetrable barrier, and the heavy thatched roof holds the warmth tightly within. The stark contrast between the wild, unforgiving elements outside and the deeply peaceful, firelit sanctuary inside only heightens your sense of profound security. You are completely safe, tucked away in this hidden corner of 1540, watching the slow, rhythmic creation of a woolen cloak as the peat fire burns and the rest of the world softly fades away into the mist. As the tailor continues their work, the atmosphere within the croft grows increasingly heavy with a sense of timeless peace. The rhythmic pull of the bone needle, the soft, low glow of the burning peat, and the heavy silence of the Scottish Highlands create a sanctuary that feels entirely detached from the forward march of history. You find yourself leaning back into the shadows, your eyes tracking the steady, repetitive motion of the tailor's hands. They move with such deliberate care, treating the heavy wool not as a mere material but as something precious, something that will eventually become a second skin for someone facing the brutal, biting winds of the north. There is a deep, inherent respect in their craft, a recognition that in this rugged environment, a well-made cloak is more than just clothing. It is a vital, life-preserving tool. It represents hours of labor, from the shearing of the sheep to the spinning of the yarn, all culminating here, in the quiet, fire-lit heart of this stone cottage, under the watchful gaze of the shifting shadows. Before we delve further into the intricacies of this ancient craft, take a moment to consider the environment you are currently inhabiting. If you're enjoying this journey into the quietude of the past, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications. By joining our community, You support the creation of these immersive, restorative experiences, allowing us to continue crafting these peaceful escapes from the modern world. Your support is the thread that holds our little community together, much like the flax thread that holds this cloak in place, ensuring that we can continue to explore these quiet corners of history together. We truly value your presence here, and it is a privilege to share this sanctuary with you. Now, return your attention to the tailor. The work has shifted to the heavy folded edges of the cloak's collar. This is where the protection is most needed, where the wool must be thick enough to stand up against the freezing rain and the relentless salt-heavy gusts of the Atlantic. The tailor takes a slightly thicker piece of thread and begins a complex, overlapping stitch, reinforcing the seam with meticulous precision. You watch as they hold the fabric taut, their thumb pressing firmly against the edge to ensure that every fold lies perfectly flat. There is a tactile beauty to this, the way the rough wool fibers interlock under the pressure of the stitch, the way the thread nestles into the deep nap of the cloth. It is a slow, meditative process. The tailor doesn't look up, they don't need to. They have done this 1,000 times before, and the pattern of the work is etched into their very being. The fire ever, the silent companion in this labour, provides a constant comforting backdrop. It is burning down now to a finer, more concentrated heat. The blocks of peat have broken apart into glowing, radiant embers that sit comfortably on the iron hearth grid. This is the stage of the evening where the heat is at its most potent and steady. It is a dry, pervasive warmth that seems to seep through your layers of clothing and into your very marrow, dissolving any remaining trace of the day's fatigue. The scent is now richer, a deep, earthy perfume of compressed minerals and organic life, heated and released by the flames. It is the scent of the earth itself, captured, dried, and set to work, providing comfort in the middle of a cold, foggy wilderness. Around the room, the stillness is absolute. Even the occasional, distant cry of a restless hill-bird, carried through the cracks of the stonework, only serves to emphasize the profound quiet inside. There is no urgency in this room, no clocks to mark the passage of minutes, no demands of the world outside. There is only the here and now. The room is a closed loop of contentment. The tailor's breathing is steady and quiet, synchronized with the movement of their hands. You find your own breath slowing to match theirs, your chest rising and falling in a rhythmic, calm cadence. The flickering light on the walls creates a sense of constant, gentle motion, a visual lullaby that encourages your eyelids to grow heavy. The world of 1540 is a world of physical reality, of simple, honest tasks performed with integrity and patience. It is a world where you are not defined by what you produce or what you own, but by how well you exist in harmony with your surroundings. You feel a profound sense of connection to this place. Though the walls are cold stone and the floor is packed earth, the space feels more like home than any bustling city could ever be. It is the honesty of the materials, the wood, the stone, the wool, the peat. Everything here is natural, raw, and essential. There is no artificiality to distract you, no hum of electricity, no glare of artificial screens, just the primal, soothing interplay of light, shadow, and the soft sounds of a life lived in accordance with the seasons. The tailor finally pulls the needle free, knots the thread with a swift, confident motion, and sets the cloak down across their lap. They rest their hands for a moment, their eyes closed, basking in the warmth of the fire. The silence that follows is thick and comfortable, a shared moment of stillness that honors the work just finished. In this quiet, you are invited to let go completely. Let the weight of the day settle into the earth beneath you. Let the heat of the fire settle into your spirit, and simply be, here in the heart of the Highlands, safe and warm against the fog. The brief respite taken by the tailor is short-lived, yet it is a moment of profound significance. They sit perfectly still, their hands resting open upon the dark, textured wool of the kirtle, palms upturned, as if catching the faint, radiant heat drifting from the hearth. In the dancing light, you can see the faint indentations on their fingertips, evidence of a lifetime spent coaxing form from raw, unyielding fibre. The fire itself seems to recognize the pause. It settles into a deep, steady glow, the red embers pulsing like a slow heartbeat in the center of the room. The shadows on the stone walls seem to deepen, pressing in with a comforting, protective weight, isolating this tiny room from the vast freezing expanse of the Scottish night. As you observe the tailor, you become acutely aware of the texture of the world around you. The stone floor beneath your feet is cool and uneven, worn smooth in places by generations of footsteps. The air has a crisp, bracing quality, despite the warmth of the fire carrying the subtle, lingering scent of damp wool and sweet, smouldering peat. It is a sensory experience that grounds you entirely in the present moment, pulling your focus away from the anxieties of your own time and anchoring you here in this small, ancient croft. The silence is not empty, it is full of the history of this place, the stories held within the stone walls, the memories of those who have sat by this same fire before you. It is a silence that invites introspection, encouraging you to release your thoughts and simply exist. The tailor stirs, a soft sigh escaping their lips as they lean forward once more. They reach for a small wooden bowl resting on the hearth, pulling out a coil of fresh flax thread. The motion is fluid, a continuation of the dance that has occupied the better part of the evening. They thread the bone needle with a focused, steady hand, the tip catching a glint of orange from the dying embers. Now they begin to work on the hem of the kirtle. This is the foundation of the garment, the part that will touch the earth, the heather, and the cold, damp stone of the mountainside. It requires an even more rigorous approach, and the tailor begins to work with a double-folded edge, ensuring the strength of the finished piece. As they work, their focus remains absolute. They are building a barrier against the elements, a garment that will serve as armor for the wearer. You reflect on the nature of this craft. In 1540, everything was a labor of love and survival. There was no mass production, no rapid consumption. Each item of clothing was a testament to the time, skill, and patience of the maker. To wear such a piece was to carry a portion of that labor with you, a constant reminder of the care and effort required to sustain life in this harsh, beautiful landscape. The tailor's work is a form of prayer, a quiet offering of protection and comfort to whoever will eventually don this cloak. The fog outside remains thick, a wall of white that separates this croft from the rest of the world, yet, inside, the space feels expansive despite its small size. The firelight creates a perimeter of safety, a golden circle that contains everything necessary for peace. You find yourself feeling a strange, deep gratitude for this small, humble space. In your own time, the world is often too loud, too bright, too fast. Here, the pace of life matches the pulse of the earth. Everything happens in its own time, according to the rhythm of the seasons and the needs of the day. The tailor's deliberate pace is a lesson in mindfulness, a reminder that the most meaningful things in life are often those that require the most patience and the deepest focus. You watch as the needle disappears into the thick wool, emerges and is pulled through, the thread vanishing into the seam. It is a small act repeated thousands of times, and yet it is the sum of these tiny, insignificant actions that results in something of lasting value. It is a beautiful metaphor for life itself. We are all stitching our own garments day by day, moment by moment. Sometimes the work is arduous and the thread is long. Sometimes the light is dim and the task is difficult. But if we proceed with care, with patience, and with a commitment to the quality of our craft, we can build something strong, something that will keep us warm and protected against the coldest of winters. The room feels increasingly cozy. The fire has consumed the majority of the peat, leaving behind a bed of glowing coals that emit a gentle, radiating heat. You feel your eyelids growing heavy, the rhythm of the sewing acting like a metronome for your relaxation. The world outside the croft is fading, becoming little more than a distant, abstract concept. The reality is here, the stone, the fire, the wool, and the steady, reassuring presence of the tailor. There is nothing else you need to do, nowhere else you need to be. You are free to drift, to settle into the comfort of this ancient Highland sanctuary, and to allow the peace of this moment to wash over you completely. The firelight dances, the needle moves, and time slows down until it stands perfectly still, leaving only the warmth and the quiet, rhythmic beauty of the craft. The depth of the evening has truly set in, and the world outside the croft has vanished into a seamless, impenetrable shroud of Atlantic fog. Within, the air remains remarkably still, holding the warmth like a precious, hoarded treasure. The fire, now reduced to a bed of glowing, pulsating embers, casts a low, rhythmic light that seems to breathe in unison with the room. This light, deep, molten orange bathes the interior in a color that feels ancient, almost primal, turning the rough, unhewn stones of the walls into pillars of weathered gold. The tailor has moved from the heavy work of the seams to the intricate final touches of the hood. This section is delicate, requiring the bone needle to navigate the complex curves of the neck and shoulder, where the wool must be sculpted to sit snugly against the wearer's frame, effectively sealing out the biting Highland draught. The tailor's posture is a masterclass in controlled relaxation. Though their hands are working with intense focus, their shoulders remain dropped, their neck long and fluid. It is a posture that suggests a deep inner harmony, a state of being where the mind and the hands act as a single unified entity. They do not fight the material, they invite it to take shape. When the wool bunches or resists, they do not pull with frustration. They ease it, fold it, and coax it with the patient, knowing touch of a master. You watch them manipulate the fabric, and it feels as though they are not just sewing a cloak, but composing a poem of survival. Each stitch is a word, each seam a stanza, documenting the hard-won comfort of a life lived amidst the mist and the stone. The sheer physical reality of this garment, its weight, its scent of lanolin and smoke, its rugged texture, is a powerful reminder of how human ingenuity has always found ways to thrive in the harshest of environments. As you sit in the silence, you begin to notice the smaller, finer details of the room. The air carries the faint, dry fragrance of dried rowan berries and sweet Sicily, hanging in small, darkened bunches from the rafters. These, the tailor will tell you if you asked, are gathered from the sheltered lee of the valley, meant to ward off the encroaching rot of dampness, and to bring the essence of spring into the midwinter gloom. They are subtle reminders that even in the depth of this foggy isolation, the cycle of nature continues, turning slowly toward the promise of renewal. The floor, made of tightly packed clay and flat, river-worn stones, holds the heat of the fire, radiating a gentle warmth upward that makes the room feel like an extension of the earth itself. It is a grounded, elemental comfort that settles into your spirit, smoothing away the jagged edges of stress and uncertainty. Your mind begins to wander, not to the future or the past, but into the very fabric of the story being woven here. You think of the sheep, resilient creatures with thick, matted fleeces that defy the worst of the mountain storms, roaming the high, rocky ridges where the grass grows sweet and sparse. You think of the hands that gathered the wool, the water that washed it, the long, meditative hours spent at the distaff, twisting the raw fibre into thread. This cloak is not merely a product, it is a repository of hundreds of hours of human life, a collection of intentional actions that span weeks, perhaps months. To wear such a thing is to be wrapped in the focused energy of the Creator, to be shielded not just by wool, but by the quiet, intentional care of another human being. It is a profound, almost spiritual connection, one that feels entirely lost in the fleeting, automated age you have left behind. The fire gives a final, soft pop, the sound echoing lightly off the stone ceiling before fading into the vast, protective silence. A thin wisp of pale grey smoke drifts lazily toward the chimney opening, carrying with it the lingering essence of the peat. It is a soothing, melancholic smell, one that speaks of hearths and homes, of the fundamental human need to gather, to warm, and to create. You feel your consciousness thinning, becoming as light and diffuse as the fog outside, yet tethered firmly to this space by the rhythmic, steady movement of the needle. The tailor is reaching the final section of the neckpiece, their fingers tracing the path of the thread with unerring accuracy. There is no tremor in their hands, no hint of fatigue, only a quiet, steady resolve that seems to pull the very fabric of the room closer around you. You are drifting now, suspended in the amber glow of the firelight. The boundaries of your own identity seem to blur. You are no longer just an observer, but a participant in this quiet, enduring scene. You are here with the tailor in the heart of 1540, watching the world fade away until only the essential remains. The warmth of the fire, the texture of the wool, the sound of the breath, and the slow, perfect peace of the craft. The fog is just a memory, a distant, cold thing that has no power here. The stone walls are iron strong, holding the chaos of the night at bay, and as the needle takes its next deliberate, purposeful pass through the thick fabric, you allow yourself to sink into the profound, unshakable tranquility of this moment, letting the rest of the world dissolve into the soft velvet darkness of the Highland night. The progress on the kirtle is nearing completion, and with each remaining stitch, the sense of accomplishment in the room seems to grow, quiet and understated. The tailor's movements have become even more measured, if such a thing were possible, as they reach the final reinforced seams of the hood. This is where the protection is most crucial. The part that will frame the wearer's face and shield them from the biting, wet wind that can cut through the thickest of layers. You observe the way they overlap the wool, folding it over with a precision that defies the dim light. It is an act of deep, quiet engineering. They are not merely joining two pieces of cloth, they are constructing a barrier, a deliberate man-made boundary against the indifference of the natural world. In the flickering firelight, the dark wool takes on an almost majestic quality, looking like the hide of some great protective beast that will shelter its owner against the elements. The atmosphere in the croft has reached a point of perfect stasis. It is as if the room itself is holding its breath, waiting for the final stitch to be placed. The air is warm, heavy and thick with the comforting, smoky perfume of the peat, which seems to have permeated every surface of the small stone dwelling. Even the shadows seem to have softened, no longer flickering in sharp, anxious pulses, but lingering in corners like gentle, familiar ghosts. You feel a deep, abiding sense of ease, a relaxation so profound that it reaches down to your very toes, loosening the tight knots of tension that usually reside in your frame. It is the peace of knowing that everything is as it should be. The fire is warm, the work is being done with care, and the walls are strong enough to hold back the infinite freezing void of the fog-covered world. As the tailor works, they occasionally pause to smooth the fabric, their palms pressing firmly against the wool as if to warm it, to make it supple and responsive to their intent. It is a gesture of intimacy, a silent acknowledgement of the relationship between the tool, the material, and the maker. There is no dialogue, for none is needed. The work speaks for itself. The language of this croft is one of action and sensation. The dull, rhythmic sound of the bone needle, the soft rustle of the wool, the occasional settling of the peat fire. It is a language of absolute sincerity, where every movement has a purpose and every sound a source. You find that you do not need to process this information with your intellect. You simply absorb it, allowing the rhythm to dictate your own heart rate, your own depth of breath. Think of the patience required for this kind of existence in the 1540s. Life was not lived in pursuit of the immediate, the fast, or the efficient. It was lived in accordance with the slow, inexorable turning of the seasons. A garment like this was not made in a day, nor was it meant to be discarded in a season. It was crafted to last for years, to survive the wear and tear of daily labour, to be mended, to be passed down, to hold the history of its wearer in every faded, well-worn stitch. This is a concept of value that is almost entirely foreign to the modern mind, yet it is undeniably beautiful. It represents a form of environmental and personal stewardship that is deeply compelling. By crafting something of quality, the tailor is participating in a legacy, contributing to a chain of existence that extends far beyond the immediate moment. You realize that this is why you are here, not to witness a historical event in the grand sense, but to witness the dignity of the small, the quiet, and the enduring. The tailor is an anonymous hero of the everyday, a nameless individual who ensures that their community is clothed, protected, and warm. There is a profound nobility in this, a quiet, unheralded strength that keeps the world turning even when the darkness of the fog is all-encompassing. You feel a swell of appreciation for this person, for their steady hands, their patient heart, and their commitment to their craft. They are the anchor in this storm, the one who refuses to let the cold win. As the final long thread is pulled through and knotted off, the tailor finally lets the garment slide from their lap. It lands with a soft, heavy thud on the earthen floor, a substantial pile of dark hand-worked wool that looks like a sanctuary in its own right. They stand up, their joints popping softly in the quiet, and stretch their arms above their head, a brief, fleeting movement of relief. Then they turn toward the fire, poke it one last time, and add a small dry piece of peat to the top of the coals. The fire flares up briefly, casting a warm, golden glow that illuminates their tired, satisfied face before settling back into a gentle, pulsating warmth. The task is done. The cloak is ready for the dawn, for the hike through the freezing glens, for the confrontation with the mountain wind. The tailor picks up a wooden mug from the stone mantel, blows on it and takes a slow, appreciative sip, then offers a small, knowing nod in your direction, as if recognizing the silent company you have kept. In this quiet, shared space, you feel that you too have completed a journey. You have traveled through the fog, found the warmth of the hearth, and witnessed the patient, beautiful unfolding of a craft that sustains life. You are ready to rest, to let the peace of this croft anchor you as you drift into a deep, restorative sleep. Sleepy History with Theodore is a sleep history storytelling platform created for entertainment, inspiration, education, and the promotion of positive emotional values. With the heavy woolen kirtle now resting securely upon the floor, a profound shift occurs within the small stone croft. The urgency of the tailor's labor has evaporated, leaving behind a tranquil, suspended reality, where the only thing that matters is the lingering warmth of the hearth. The fire has transitioned into its final, most intimate stage, a deep, glowing core of embers that emanates a steady, pervasive heat, filling the room with a sense of gentle, unwavering security. Outside, the world remains shrouded in the thick, wet embrace of the Atlantic fog. But here, the air feels dry, fragrant, and profoundly still. You sit in the deepening shadows, watching the tailor move with the deliberate, unhurried grace of someone who has nothing left to prove to the day. They move toward a small wooden crate tucked into the corner, their footsteps muted by the packed earth floor. The room is so quiet that you can hear the faint, dry rustle of the tailor's tunic as they shift their weight, a soft sound that barely disturbs the silence. They retrieve a small, dried bundle of bog myrtle and place it carefully near the edge of the hearth. The heat begins to work on the herb immediately, releasing a sharp, clean, resinous scent that cuts through the smoky aroma of the peat. It is a bracing, restorative fragrance that clears the senses and invites a deeper level of relaxation. You feel your own breath deepening, syncing with the slow, rhythmic pulses of light emanating from the cooling coals. The tailor returns to their bench, not to work, but to simply sit. They lean back against the rough stone of the wall, their eyes fixed on the embers, their faces softened by the dim light, the lines of exhaustion and focus replaced by an expression of serene contentment. It is a privilege to witness this moment of complete rest. In the modern world, we are conditioned to believe that inactivity is a failure, that if we are not producing or progressing, we are somehow falling behind. But here, in this ancient Highland croft, rest is recognized as a vital, necessary part of the cycle of life. It is the soil in which energy is replenished, the silence that allows the music of existence to be heard. You find your thoughts drifting to the landscape outside the thick walls. You imagine the vast, silent glens, the hidden lochs reflecting the grey of the sky, the craggy peaks of the mountains standing like ancient, slumbering giants beneath the shroud of fog. Somewhere out there, the heather is damp with dew, the moss is drinking in the moisture of the mist, and the earth is breathing. It is a landscape of immense power and stoic beauty, indifferent to the trivial worries of humanity, yet deeply nourishing to the soul. You are a small temporary part of this ancient rhythm, held safely within this stone shell, and the realization brings a profound sense of perspective. Your worries, your stresses, your to-do lists, they are all so small compared to the scale of the hills and the enduring silence of the night. The tailor closes their eyes, and for a moment they appear almost like a statue carved from the very stone that surrounds them. You realize that this room is not just a dwelling, it is a sanctuary that has been carefully curated to shield the human spirit from the harshness of the world. Everything here, the thick walls, the heavy door, the slow-burning peat, the durable wool, is designed to foster a sense of safety and continuity. It is a place where one can retreat from the chaos of the outside world and return to the fundamental truths of existence: warmth, light, companionship, and the dignity of simple, honest work. You feel a wave of deep, grounding peace wash over you. It is the peace of the hearth, the peace of the fire, the peace of the mountain silence. As the embers continue to glow with their rhythmic molten light, you let your own awareness expand to fill the room. You are connected to the tailor, to the fire, to the stones, to the mist outside, and to the vast, slow turning world. There is no need for words, no need for explanations. There is only the here and now, the gentle warmth of the fire, and the profound, beautiful stillness of a night spent in the heart of the Scottish Highlands. The world is at peace, and you are entirely, perfectly safe. The stillness in the room has deepened to such an extent that the very air seems to vibrate with a soft, resonant quietude. The fire has settled into a bed of deep, glowing char, providing a consistent, low-level warmth that feels like a heavy velvet blanket draped over your shoulders. You watch the tailor, who remains perfectly still, their presence a grounding anchor in the center of the room. The transition from active labor to absolute rest has been so seamless that it feels as though the entire croft has entered a meditative state. You are caught in the wake of this peace, your mind detaching from the frantic, jagged thoughts of your daily life and settling into the smooth, slow currents of this ancient Highland night. There is a lesson here, one that resonates through the ages. We often search for peace in complex solutions, in grand changes, or in the promise of the future. Yet here it is, found in the simple act of finishing a task, in the warmth of a fire built with one's own hands, in the stillness of a room that knows nothing of the world's clamour. It is a reminder that the capacity for tranquility is always within us, waiting for us to stop, to breathe, and to honour the present moment. The tailor does not seek more. They are satisfied with what they have created, satisfied with the warmth of the room, satisfied with the quiet. It is a profound contentment that is both aspirational and deeply soothing to witness. If this journey into the quietude of the 1-5 forces has brought you a sense of calm and relief, please consider subscribing to our channel. By joining us, you are helping to preserve these moments of stillness, creating a space where anyone, anywhere can return to the warmth of the fire and the simplicity of the past. Your engagement is the fuel that keeps this hearth burning, ensuring that we can continue to offer these restorative, imaginative escapes to everyone who needs them. We invite you to be a part of this growing community of seekers, sharing in the peace that comes from slowing down and listening to the whispers of history. As the embers pulse with their final, lingering light, you become aware of the subtle, changing quality of the shadows in the room. They have lost their sharp edges, blending into a soft, diffused dark that feels less like an absence of light and more like a gentle, embracing presence. It is a darkness that invites you to lower your defenses, to let go of the analytical mind and sink into the realm of sensation and intuition. You can feel the weight of your body against the floor, the cool, solid reality of the stone, the soft, grounding pressure of the air. You are fully present, fully here, and fully at rest. The tailor finally shifts, their movements slow and intentional. They reach out and adjust a heavy piece of peat, not to increase the fire, but simply to guide the last of the warmth into the center of the hearth. It is a final, graceful act of stewardship. They then pull a heavy, hand-woven wool blanket from the nearby bench and wrap it securely around their shoulders. The fabric is thick and dark, a testament to the same care that went into the kirtle. As they wrap themselves in it, you see the comfort on their face, a deep, well-earned ease. They are preparing for the long, cold hours of the night, confident in their shelter, confident in their preparations, and at peace with the world beyond their walls. This sense of preparation is perhaps the ultimate comfort. It is the knowledge that we have done what we can, that we have tended to our responsibilities, and that we are now free to let go. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to worry about. The night will pass, the morning will come, and the cycle will begin anew. But for now, there is only the present, the warmth, the quiet, and the deep, abiding sense of safety. You are invited to mirror this feeling, to wrap yourself in the peace of this moment, and to let go of everything that no longer serves you. Sleepy History with Theodore combines the power of AI to reimagine fictional historical tales, bringing peace, relaxation, and positive emotional values to our listeners. The hours have drifted by, and the croft has settled into the deepest, most sacred part of the night. The fire has faded to a faint, pulsing glow, no longer providing a bright, flickering light, but rather a soft internal warmth that seems to emanate from the very stones themselves. The air in the room is heavy and still, a thick, comfortable blanket of peace that envelops everything within these walls. You find yourself anchored in this sanctuary, feeling the profound stillness that only exists when the world outside has been completely forgotten. The tailor is resting, a dark, quiet shape on the wooden bench, their breath slow and rhythmic, matching the deep, steady pulse of the hearth. You are alone with the silence, and it is the most comforting, restorative silence you have ever known. This stillness allows your mind to expand and settle in equal measure. Without the constant, intrusive noise of your own time, your thoughts no longer race. They flow like the slow, dark waters of a Highland stream. You reflect on the incredible endurance of the human spirit. In 1540, life was hard, dictated by the unforgiving climate and the scarcity of resources, yet it was also remarkably rich in purpose and connection. The people who lived here were intimately tied to their landscape, understanding its moods, respecting its power, and finding ways to thrive within its boundaries. There was a dignity in that struggle, a strength that was forged in the cold, wet air and polished by the heat of the peat fire. You feel a sense of kinship with them, a recognition that the fundamental needs of the human heart have not changed over the centuries. We still need shelter, we still need warmth, and we still need the profound reassurance of a safe space in which to rest. The sensory details of the room have become even more acute in the late, quiet hours. The faint, lingering scent of the bog myrtle you smelled earlier has melded with the deep, earthy perfume of the peat, creating a fragrance that is both invigorating and soothing. It is the smell of the earth itself, the scent of the Highlands, a wild, ancient, and undeniably pure aroma that fills your lungs and calms your spirit. You notice the subtle textures of the room, the rough, cold stone of the walls, the slightly damp, cool touch of the floor, the heavy, coarse wool of the cloak resting nearby. These are real, tangible things devoid of the artificiality and synthetic surfaces that dominate your daily experience. There is an honesty in this environment that is profoundly grounding, reminding you of the physical reality that lies beneath the layers of modern complexity. As you look around the dim room, you notice the way the shadows have become a part of the architecture. They are not merely an absence of light, they are a soft, protective presence, cradling the room in a gentle velvet embrace. They hide the rough edges of the stone, the soot on the rafters, and the wear on the wooden furniture, leaving only the essential, beautiful forms behind it. It is as if the room itself is shielding you, protecting you from the vast, dark emptiness of the outside world. You feel a deep, abiding gratitude for this protection. You realize that you don't need to see everything. You don't need to know everything, and you don't need to have everything. You only need to be here, in the heart of this sanctuary, wrapped in the warmth of the fire and the peace of the night. The sense of safety is so complete that you feel your own defenses beginning to lower. You are no longer holding yourself together, no longer preparing for the next task or the next demand. You are simply allowing yourself to be, surrendering to the slow, gentle rhythm of the night. It is a liberating experience, this act of total release. You are not defined by your history, your plans, or your responsibilities. You are defined only by your presence in this moment. You are a part of the fire, a part of the stone, a part of the mist, and a part of the profound ancient peace that defines this Highland croft. Everything is exactly as it should be, and there is nothing left for you to do but to continue this journey into the depths of rest. The silence is absolute, yet it is not empty. It is a living, breathing silence, a repository of all the quiet thoughts and peaceful dreams that have ever been dreamt within these walls. You feel the weight of the years, the weight of the land, and the weight of the history that surrounds you, and you find it to be a gentle, supportive weight, rather than a burdensome one. It is as if the croft itself is holding you, cradling you in its ancient, sturdy lap. The cold, wet fog that covers the mountains outside is no longer a threat. It is a curtain, a protective barrier that keeps this little world safe and isolated. You are a guest in this sanctuary, invited to share in its warmth, its stillness, and its enduring grace. As the embers continue their slow, quiet pulse, you drift deeper into the peace, letting the world beyond the walls fade into a distant, inconsequential memory, leaving only the warmth, the quiet, and the profound safety of your own inner sanctuary. The night has fully claimed the Highlands, turning the world outside into a vast, shadow-filled ocean of stone and mist. Inside the Croft, the atmosphere has deepened into an even more profound sense of intimacy. The fire, now a mere whisper of its former self, still maintains a consistent, gentle warmth that makes the small, stone-walled space feel incredibly cozy and secure. You find yourself drifting in a state of suspended animation, a beautiful limbo where time has lost all meaning and where the only reality is the quiet, steady breath of the room. The tailor remains motionless, their presence a silent testimony to the comfort of a job well done, their silhouette a peaceful, unmoving feature in the dim landscape of the interior. You observe the rafters above, their dark, soot-stained wood holding the structure of the roof together against the invisible, immense pressure of the night. There is a primal strength in this building, an understanding that has been handed down through generations, a way of crafting a home that acknowledges the power of the natural world while refusing to be conquered by it. It is a humbling thought to realize how much knowledge, how much grit, and how much love is required to build a life in such a place. The Croft is not just a collection of stone and thatch, it is a manifestation of the will to survive, to nurture, and to find beauty in the midst of adversity. It is a place that earns its warmth, and that is why that warmth feels so much more satisfying than any artificial heat ever could. As you sit in this quiet, you think about the nature of the cloak that the tailor finished earlier. It is now a dormant, heavy shape on the floor, yet you know that it is not merely a piece of fabric. It is a vessel of intention, a physical manifestation of care. When it is finally worn, it will be a source of protection for someone, a barrier between them and the harsh, biting winds of the mountains. The tailor has infused that purpose into every stitch, making it a living, breathing part of the fabric of this life. It reminds you that all our efforts, all our labors, and all our commitments are, in their own way, a form of weaving. We are all creating our own cloaks, our own protections, and our own sanctuaries, building them slowly and deliberately through our actions and our choices. The peace you feel is a direct result of this environment. It is the peace that comes from the absence of unnecessary things, from the focus on the fundamental, and from the presence of true, authentic purpose. In your life, how often do you get to experience this? How often do you step away from the clutter, the noise, and the distraction, to simply sit by a fire and watch the shadows on a wall? This experience is a gift, a chance to recalibrate your senses, to rediscover the joy of simplicity, and to reconnect with the part of you that does not need to achieve but only to exist. It is a vital, necessary part of the human experience, and you are fortunate to be here, in this quiet, firelit corner of 1540, learning from the masters of this simple, profound peace. The shadows on the wall have become hypnotic, a soft, dancing play of light that mimics the slow, rhythmic beating of your own heart. You find yourself focusing on a single faint flicker, watching it appear and vanish, again and again. It is a meditative, trance-like experience, one that pulls you further away from the conscious, analytical part of your brain and deeper into the intuitive, feeling part of your soul. You are letting go of your need to control, your need to understand, and your need to move forward. You are simply allowing the moment to be, trusting that the fire will hold, the walls will stand, and the peace will remain. It is a lesson in faith, faith in the stability of the world, faith in the resilience of the human spirit, and faith in the goodness of this quiet, warm, and safe space. As the night continues to turn, you feel your entire being settling into the floor, the walls, and the very air of the Croft. You are becoming a part of this space, a quiet, observant presence that is fully integrated into the life of the hearth. There is no longer any separation between you and the environment. You are an extension of the room, a witness to its enduring, gentle life. The cold is a world away, The fog is merely a concept, and the only reality is the soft, warm, and utterly peaceful sanctuary you occupy. You are completely, perfectly safe. And as you close your eyes, you feel yourself slipping into a deep, dreamless sleep, carried on the wings of the peat smoke and the rhythmic, steady, ancient peace of the Highlands. The silence of the deep night has become a physical presence, a soft, velvet weight that presses gently against the stone walls of the Croft. You have drifted into a state where the boundaries of the room seem to expand, merging with the vast, quiet moors that lie waiting under the cover of the Atlantic mist. Inside, the fire has retreated into a concentrated, glowing heart of heat, sending out thin, rhythmic waves of warmth that cradle you in a state of absolute, unhurried rest. The tailor has long since drifted into a sleep as deep and undisturbed as the mountain roots, their form a peaceful, dark silhouette against the stone hearth. You are the sole witness to the stillness, and in this solitude you find a sense of belonging that transcends time and space. If you have found solace in this journey, and if the rhythmic peace of this ancient Highland croft has brought stillness to your own mind, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support is the invisible thread that sustains this sanctuary, allowing these tales to reach those who, like you, seek a quiet refuge from the frantic pace of the modern world. By becoming a part of our community, you help ensure that these stories of craft, patience, and history remain accessible as a gentle, restorative tool for anyone in need of deep rest. We are profoundly grateful for your company in this quiet space, and we invite you to continue this journey with us as we explore the calming depths of the past. Consider the profound nature of this environment. We are so often told that we must be productive, that we must be striving, that we must be constantly moving to justify our existence. But here, in the dim light of 1540, the wisdom of the Highlands suggests something entirely different. The wisdom here is in the seasons, in the harvest, in the fire that burns, and in the rest that follows. The tailor's work is complete. The cloak is finished. The duty of the day has been met with integrity. There is no guilt in resting, no shame in stillness. This is the natural order of things, a rhythm that the mountain and the glen have taught for eons. To sit here in the warmth of the hearth is to align yourself with that ancient restorative rhythm, letting the frantic modern need to perform dissolve into the embers. You can feel the air in the room, cooling slightly but retaining that rich, comforting scent of peat smoke, dried heather, and the heavy, earthy aroma of the wool. It is a fragrance that cleanses the mind, pulling you away from the complexities of logic and into the simple, direct reality of the senses. You think of the mountain peaks hidden outside, the way they stand immovable against the swirling white fog. They do not hurry, they do not worry, and they do not fear the night. They simply are. And in this moment, you are invited to be the same. You are invited to stop carrying the weight of your expectations, to stop managing your anxieties, and to simply exist, like the mountain, in the quiet, solid reality of the present. The shadows that play across the stones are slow, pulsing like the rhythm of a sleeping giant's heartbeat. You are entirely safe here. The walls are thick, built by ancestors who understood that life is a fragile, beautiful thing that must be sheltered and cherished. The roof, heavy with its burden of thatch and stone, is a shield that has defied countless Atlantic gales. You are a guest in this fortress of peace, and the room itself is holding you. You feel yourself sinking further into the floor, the stone supporting your weight, the air supporting your spirit. The sense of protection is so profound that even your thoughts begin to grow quiet, drifting like the pale, lazy wisps of smoke that rise from the hearth. As you linger in this space, you realize that this too is a form of work. It is the work of settling, of integrating, of allowing the soul to catch up to the body. We live our lives in fragments, often scattered and distracted. But here, in the Highland silence, those fragments begin to weave together. The focus of the tailor on the needle, the focus of the fire on the peat, the focus of the night on the glen, all these threads are coming together to form a coherent, peaceful whole. You are witnessing the unification of your own experience. Let the warmth of the fire be the needle, and let your breath be the thread, stitching together the scattered parts of your day into a cloak of calm that will keep you safe throughout the night. The world beyond the walls is a distant dream. The modern era, with its screens, its lights, its relentless buzzing noise, is a world away. Here, there is only the heartbeat of the hearth and the steady ancient pulse of the mountain. You are free to let go. You are free to descend into the deepest, most quiet chambers of your own being. The tailor sleeps, the fire smoulders, and you are tucked securely away in the cradle of history. Let the peace of the Highlands be your anchor, and let the gentle dark of the Croft be your blanket. As you prepare to drift even deeper, know that you are exactly where you need to be, surrounded by the warmth of human effort and the profound, enduring stillness of the earth. The depth of the night has reached its zenith, and the Croft has become a world unto itself, entirely insulated from the passage of hours. The fire, now reduced to a glowing crimson eye in the centre of the hearth, provides just enough light to soften the rugged edges of the stone walls, turning them into gentle protective curves. There is a sense of completion in the room, a finality that is deeply soothing. The work of the day, the labour, the spinning, the sewing, has been transformed into the reality of the present. The cloak, the fruit of all that effort, lies in a quiet, dark heap on the floor, its weight and its texture a silent promise of comfort to come. You feel that same sense of completion in yourself, as if you have finished your own day's journey and have arrived finally at the place where you were meant to rest. It is rare, in our modern experience, to find a place that feels so completely, so unapologetically itself. In our daily lives, we are often forced to be many different versions of ourselves, to adjust to the expectations of others, to perform, to compete, to succeed. But here in this ancient stone-walled space, there is no performance, there is no one to impress, no role to play. You are free to be exactly who you are, to sit in the silence, to watch the embers, and to simply exist. It is a liberation that you feel in every fibre of your being, a loosening of the tight, protective armour you usually wear. You can finally take a full, deep breath, expanding your chest, letting the cool, clean air of the room fill your lungs, and then exhaling slowly, letting go of the residual stress of your daily life. The textures of this room are your new reality, the grit of the stone beneath your awareness, the slight, dry roughness of the wool, the faint, comforting scent of the peat. Each of these is a point of contact with a world that is real, tangible, and true. There is no abstraction here, no digital filter, no artificial distance. It is the reality of physical life, the reality of human struggle and human success, and it is incredibly beautiful in its stark, unadorned simplicity. You find that you are no longer observing this from a distance. You are present within it. You are part of the story, a silent, respectful presence in the home of someone who has devoted their life to the survival and comfort of their community. Consider the endurance of this way of life. For centuries, the Highland Croft has been the centre of the world for those who lived here. It has seen the birth of children, the quiet passing of the elderly, the long dark winters, and the fleeting brilliant springs. It has held the joy of a good harvest and the sorrow of a lost one. It has been the site of countless small heroic acts of survival. Every stone in these walls holds a memory. Every creak of the rafters tells a story, and the very air in the room is thick with the residue of a life lived with purpose. To be here is to touch that history, to understand that you too are part of a long unfolding human story, one that is marked by these same cycles of work and rest, of light and shadow. The fire gives a soft, almost imperceptible sigh as the peat settles further, a tiny glowing spark leaping up and vanishing into the darkness of the flue. It is a peaceful final movement, as if the fire itself is saying good night. You follow its lead, letting your own focus soften, your eyes resting on the embers until they are no longer individual points of light, but a single pulsing sea of warmth. Your thoughts are no longer linear, they are circular, drifting, and slow. You are not trying to get anywhere, not trying to achieve anything. You are already there. You have reached the destination of your journey, a state of profound, quiet, and enduring peace. In this state, the boundaries of your body seem to soften. You are no longer just a person sitting in a room. You are a presence in the space, as much a part of the Croft as the stones, the fire, or the scent of the heather. You feel the cool air of the Highlands pressing gently against the exterior of the walls, and you feel the warmth of the hearth pressing gently against your heart. You are held between these two forces, suspended in a state of perfect balance. There is no fear, no anxiety, and no desire for anything else. There is only this moment, the quiet, the warmth, and the deep, abiding sense of belonging. The world is at peace, and you are a part of that peace, wrapped in the safety of the past as you continue your descent into the deep, restorative sleep of the Highlands. The night has settled into its most absolute and profound depth. Within the thick-walled sanctuary of the Croft, the silence is so heavy and rich that it feels almost tangible, a soft velvet cloak draped over the remnants of the evening's labour. The fire has faded into a bed of embers, a soft, pulsating glow that colours the hearth in shades of deep, burnt sienna and ember red. It is a light that does not demand attention, but rather invites the soul to relax and let go. You are still here, tucked away in the deepest shadows, watching the world of 1540 breathe in its quiet, rhythmic sleep. The tailor, motionless on the bench, is the picture of serenity, their work complete, their body finally released from the demands of the day. You feel a profound kinship with this stillness, an understanding that you too have arrived at a point of perfect, unwavering peace. Consider the architecture of this safety. The stones that form these walls were not chosen for their symmetry or their elegance, but for their permanence. They were dragged from the slopes of the mountains, shaped by the glacial forces of time, and then placed by hand to withstand the wildest, most unforgiving weather the Atlantic could throw against the coast. These stones are the earth itself, holding the heat, standing against the wind, and providing a foundation that feels as solid as the roots of the mountains. Inside, this density creates a feeling of total enclosure, a womb-like space that protects not just the body but the inner life. In the modern world, we often feel exposed, our lives stretched thin across networks and obligations. But here, the stone walls are a boundary, a clear, defined edge where the world ends and your own private reality begins. The air remains cool, yet it holds the accumulated warmth of the day's fire, a gentle ambient heat that seems to radiate from the hearth and the stones themselves. It is a nurturing, earthy air, filled with the scent of dried moss, the lingering sweet and smoky fragrance of the peat, and the heavy, honest aroma of the sheep's wool. Every breath you take is a reminder of your connection to this place. You are breathing in the essence of the Highland landscape, the very elements that have sustained the people of this croft for centuries. This is the air of survival, of endurance, and of quiet, unadorned beauty. As you inhale, you feel your lungs expanding, clearing out the lingering remnants of your own cluttered world, and as you exhale, you let go of the last few remnants of tension that have been hiding in your chest and shoulders. Think of the cycle that has unfolded here today. The morning, likely started long before the sun had cleared the fog-heavy peaks, was a time of waking, of stoking the fire, of gathering the necessary tools. The day was filled with the rhythmic labor of the tailor, a series of deliberate, focused actions that gradually brought a formless pile of wool into the shape of a life-protecting cloak. The evening was a time of winding down, of the fire becoming the center of the room, of the quiet transition from activity to rest. This is a complete cycle, a full rotation of human existence, and you have been fortunate enough to witness it in its entirety. It is a cycle of integrity, where every action leads naturally to the next, and where the end of the day feels like a deserved, hard-won reward. As the embers pulse in the hearth, they seem to follow a tempo that is slower than any clock, a rhythm dictated by the cooling of the stone and the settling of the peat ash. This is the pulse of the earth, the slow, tectonic beat of a world that is not governed by the artificial speed of the modern age. You are perfectly in sync with this rhythm now. Your breathing is slow, your heart rate is calm, and your thoughts have become vast, empty, and serene. You are no longer trying to solve the problems of your life. You are simply existing, a witness to the profound, quiet majesty of a life lived in harmony with the surrounding hills. The mountains outside, unseen in the fog, are silent, ancient, and immovable. You are as immovable as they are. The sense of safety here is not a fragile thing. It is built into the fabric of the building, into the patience of the tailor, and into the very atmosphere of the room. You realize that the fear of the outside world, the anxiety about the future, and the regret about the past are all shadows that only exist because we choose to feed them. Here in the heart of the Highlands there is only the present, and the present is warm, quiet, and safe. You are a part of this landscape, a guest in this home, and an inhabitant of this moment. Let the world outside continue its churning, its wind-swept, fog-covered motion. You are safely tucked away, resting in the absolute, unshakable peace of the fire, the stone, and the night. The silence of the croft has taken on a new, heavier quality, as if the room itself is settling into a deep, dreamless slumber. The faint, rhythmic crackle of the embers has almost completely died away, leaving only a soft, radiant glow that spills across the floor, illuminating the texture of the stone and the dark, folded form of the woolen cloak. You are still present in the shadows, an invisible, quiet participant in the final hours of the night. The tailor's breathing has become so light that it is indistinguishable from the rustle of the air in the rafters. It is the peace of the innocent, the peace of those who have done their work well and have nothing left to fear from the coming dawn. In this deep, quiet space, your own consciousness feels as though it is expanding, drifting outward to fill the corners of the room, then flowing out through the cracks in the stone to touch the wet, cold hillsides. You can sense the vastness of the Highlands, the silent power of the glens, and the slow, steady movement of the fog as it circles the peaks. It is a vast, untamed wilderness, yet you feel no cold, no fear, and no isolation. You are anchored by the warmth of the hearth and the stability of the stone. This duality, the vast empty wildness of the outside world and the intimate contained warmth of the human dwelling, is the essence of life in the Highlands. It is a constant negotiation between the forces of nature and the ingenuity of the home, a dance that has been performed here for 1,000 years. You think of the cloak again. It is a masterpiece of utility, a garment that does not care for status, for fashion, or for vanity. It cares only for the body it will cover, for the warmth it will provide, and for the safety it will guarantee. It is a symbol of the fundamental, human-centered values of this world. Everything here is for a reason. The hearth is for heat, the stone is for strength, the bench is for rest, and the cloak is for survival. There is no excess, no waste, no distraction. It is a life stripped down to its barest, most essential components, and in that stripping away, there is a beauty that is almost blinding. We spend our lives in the modern age collecting things, building up walls of distraction, and filling our homes with noise. To see this, to witness the quiet, humble reality of a life lived with so little, is to be reminded of what truly matters. The shadows are now the only thing that moves, shifting imperceptibly as the fire loses its final, lingering heat. You are watching the end of an era not in a grand historical sense, but in the intimate, private sense of a single night that has come to its natural, perfect conclusion. Every night is an opportunity to reset, to shed the burdens of the day, and to return to the simplicity of the self. By sitting here, by immersing yourself in the life of the croft, you are participating in that reset. You are letting go of the person you think you need to be, and you are returning to the core of who you actually are. You are a human being, a part of the earth, a traveler in time, and a quiet witness to the enduring beauty of the world. As you lean back, you feel the cool stone against your shoulders, a stark, grounding reminder of your presence in this space. It is a solid, honest surface, not designed for luxury, but for endurance. You feel a sense of gratitude for this stone, for the protection it has offered, and for the way it has held the memory of this fire, this night, and this life. The croft is a keeper of memories, a vessel for the stories of those who have lived here, and you are adding your own small, quiet story to its history. You are the one who watched, who listened, and who found peace here. You are the one who will carry this warmth back into the modern world, not as a physical thing, but as a state of mind, a reminder that peace is always possible, even in the deepest, most fog-covered night. Finally, the fire dips into darkness, the final glow of the embers fading into the ash. The room is now filled with the natural, cool darkness of the night, a darkness that is not threatening but deeply, profoundly restful. It is the darkness that allows the earth to recover, the darkness that invites the deepest level of sleep, and the darkness that hides us away so we can be reborn in the morning. You are safe, you are warm, you are at rest. The world is waiting for you in the dawn. But for now, you are free to descend, to close your eyes, and to drift into the quiet, perfect stillness of the Highland night. Everything is finished, everything is right, everything is at peace. The dawn is still a distant promise, a slow-growing light that has yet to touch the granite peaks or stir the rolling mists of the glen. Inside the croft, the darkness is complete, yet it is a soft, welcoming gloom. You are no longer watching the tailor. They have long since retreated into a deep, dreamless sleep, their breathing synchronized with the very rhythm of the earth beneath this stone structure. You remain in this liminal space, an observer of the quietude, with the fire now fully extinguished and the last of the glowing embers buried beneath a protective layer of white ash. The room has cooled. However, the thick, heavy stones of the walls have absorbed the heat of the day, acting as a thermal battery, radiating a gentle, persistent warmth that keeps the interior from ever feeling truly cold. It is a brilliant bit of ancient engineering, a testament to the wisdom of those who built this shelter to survive the harsh realities of the Highlands. You feel a profound sense of weightlessness. Without the distraction of the dancing flames or the rhythmic movement of the tailor's hands, your mind is free to wander the landscape of this ancient time. You think of the rugged sheep that produced the wool for the cloak, the animals that climbed the vertical crags of the nearby mountains, finding sustenance in the tiny patches of moss and tough grasses that grow where nothing else can. There is a primal, beautiful hardness to this landscape. It is not a place that caters to comfort. It is a place that demands respect and endurance. To live here, to craft a life here, is to be constantly in dialogue with the elements. You understand now why the wool was left thick and heavy, why the seams were reinforced with such obsessive precision, and why the hearth was the absolute center of the home. Everything is designed to serve a singular purpose, to preserve the spark of life against the immense, indifferent power of the wild. In this deep, silent hour, you can almost hear the heartbeat of the land. It is a slow, pulsing frequency, the vibration of mountain roots against the ancient soil, the far-off murmur of the Atlantic as it crashes against the jagged cliffs, and the whisper of the fog as it navigates the crevices of the valley. It is an alien sound to modern ears, accustomed to the buzzing of electricity, the hum of traffic, and the ceaseless, frenetic pace of digital information. But here the sound of the world is elemental, pure, and profoundly calming. It reminds you that you are first and foremost a creature of this earth. You belong to the rocks, the mist, the fire, and the stars, even if you have spent your modern life forgetting that fundamental truth. You feel the texture of the air, thick with the history of this place. It carries the faint, lingering scent of 1,000 years of peat fires, a deep, earthy perfume that clings to the fibers of the wool and the cracks in the stone. It is the smell of humanity taking root in the wilderness. There is something deeply reassuring about this, a sense of continuity that defies the brevity of individual lives. The individuals come and go, the seasons turn, the mists roll in and out, but this small stone shelter remains a sturdy, defiant monument to the human desire to endure, to nurture, and to find a place of safety in a vast and often terrifying world. You feel smaller, yet more significant. You are a part of this unfolding history, a brief guest in the long, ongoing story of the mountains. The sense of safety is absolute. You are enclosed by walls that have withstood the most violent tempests, cradled by a floor that is anchored to the bedrock of the world. There is no possibility of disturbance here. The world outside is a silent, fog-bound void, a place of mystery and cold, but it cannot touch you. You are held in a bubble of peace, a temporal sanctuary carved out of the 16th century. You can feel the tension leaving your body, flowing out of your muscles like water draining from a vessel, until you are nothing but a relaxed, heavy, and deeply content presence. There is nothing left to achieve, no goal to strive for, and no future to plan. There is only the presence of the night, the weight of the stone, and the deep, quiet rhythm of your own soul finding its center. You drift in this sea of tranquility, allowing the darkness to become your canvas. You are no longer thinking, you are experiencing. You are feeling the weight of the wool, the coolness of the air, the solidity of the earth, and the immense comforting distance between you and the worries of your own life. You are perfectly placed, perfectly safe, and perfectly at rest. As the night continues its slow journey toward the dawn, you feel a deep, quiet joy in this simple existence. You have found the secret that the people of this land have known for generations, that true peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of a place where you can be still, where you can be sheltered, and where you can remember who you are. The Croft is that place. It is a fortress of calm, and you are its honoured guest, invited to sleep in its protection until the first light of morning breaks the grey curtain of the fog. The transition from night to morning in the Highlands is not a sudden affair. It is a gradual, almost imperceptible shift, as if the world is waking up from a long, deep slumber and shaking off the heavy shroud of the Atlantic fog. Inside the Croft you can feel the air changing. It is becoming thinner, crisper, with a subtle, sharp quality that hints at the dew beginning to form on the heather outside. You remain tucked away, a quiet witness to the very beginning of the day. The tailor has begun to stir, a soft sound of movement echoing in the stillness as they shift on the wooden bench, their body adjusting to the cooling air. There is a sense of natural, unforced movement in their actions, a stark contrast to the jolting, jarring alarms that mark the beginning of days in your own time. You think about the morning routine that is about to unfold. There will be the scraping of the floor, the relighting of the hearth, the gentle rhythmic motion of the bellows, and the rising scent of fresh hot smoke. It is a ritual of life-giving necessity performed without haste or complaint. It is a way of saying, I am here, I am ready, and I will meet the day. There is a profound, quiet dignity in this. We live in an age where we are often trying to avoid the start of our days, hiding under covers, dreading the demands that await us. But here, the day is simply another cycle, a natural continuation of the night, to be entered into with the same calm, steady resolve that was used to finish the cloak. As you sit in the quiet, you consider the cloak one last time, lying there in the dim light. It is a silent, dark shape, waiting to fulfill its purpose. It will be picked up, draped over shoulders, and taken out into the cold grey morning to face the wind and the mist. It will serve its owner faithfully, keeping them warm, protecting them from the damp, and allowing them to go about their work with resilience. It is a beautiful, humble thing, a perfect expression of care and utility. You realize that you have witnessed a tiny, meaningful fragment of a life, and the simplicity of that experience has left a permanent, soothing mark on your consciousness. You are no longer the same person who walked through the door yesterday. You have been quieted, anchored, and renewed by this place. The walls of the Croft seem to hum with a low, vibrant energy, the collective memory of all the mornings that have begun in this way. You are a part of that history now. You have shared in the stillness, in the warmth, and in the slow, rhythmic turning of the cycle. You feel an immense gratitude for this experience, for the ability to step out of the frantic stream of modern time and into the deep, still waters of the past. It is a gift, a piece of time that belongs to you, a sanctuary that you can return to whenever the world feels too loud or the future feels too uncertain. You can come back here to the smell of the peat, the weight of the stone, and the patient, quiet skill of the tailor. The light outside is beginning to brighten, turning the thick fog from a solid wall of white into a soft, glowing, pearlescent haze. You can see the faint outlines of the mountain peaks through the recessed window, dark, jagged shapes emerging from the grey-like islands in a vast, ethereal sea. The beauty of it is breathtaking, stark, lonely, and deeply, authentically wild. It is a landscape that demands humility, and you feel that humility rising within you, a gentle, quiet acknowledgement of your place in the world. You are not the master of the universe. You are a part of it, a temporary observant presence in an ancient and enduring system. As the first real stirrings of the day begin, you feel a gentle push, a soft guiding urge to let go of this moment and carry its lesson with you. The Croft is waking up, the world is beginning to turn, and your journey here is coming to its natural, perfect end. You are ready, you are refreshed, you are centered, As the tailor stands and reaches for the flint to start the morning fire, you let your eyes close one last time, breathing in the cold, clear air of the coming day. You carry the warmth of the croft with you, a quiet internal fire that will keep you safe, steady, and at peace, no matter where your own day leads you. The fog may be thick and the mountain may be cold, but here, in the heart of the Highlands, everything is perfectly, beautifully at rest. The grey veil of the Highland morning has begun to thin, casting a diffused silver light that barely penetrates the thick stone walls of the croft. You remain in the quiet, tucked away in a corner where the shadows still cling, observing the awakening of this humble dwelling. The air, which had remained stagnant and warm throughout the long night, now stirs with the first tentative movements of the tailor. They rise with a deliberate, unhurried grace, their joints popping softly in the quiet, a sound that in any other context might seem jarring. But here, it feels like the natural, honest articulation of a body that has worked hard and rested well. The tailor moves toward the hearth, their hands finding the familiar tools of their daily rhythm, and you watch as they kneel on the cold, packed earth. The process of restarting the fire is a dance of intimacy. They do not rush, for they understand that the fire is not merely a tool, but a companion that must be coaxed back into existence. They reach for a handful of dry heather and a small, delicate bunch of birch twigs, placing them precisely over the bed of fine, grey ash that remains from the previous day. With a gentle, controlled breath, they fan the residual warmth, and you see the first faint flicker of an orange glow. It is a moment of pure, elemental magic. From nothing but dust and shadow, light is born. The smoke begins to rise in a thin, pale column, drifting lazily upward toward the rafters, carrying with it the sharp, clean scent of awakening earth. The tailor adds a small, dense piece of peat, and you listen as it catches, the sound a low, contented hiss that speaks of comfort and continuity. The warmth that fills the room is not immediate. It is a slow, creeping presence that begins to thaw the chill of the morning, turning the damp, grey air into something breathable, livable, and deeply familiar. You feel a profound sense of continuity in this routine. This same morning ritual has been repeated in this exact spot for hundreds of years. The ancestors of this tailor knelt on this same earth, tended this same hearth, and watched the same pale light creep through the small recessed window. There is a weight of history here that is incredibly grounding. You are not witnessing a performance, you are witnessing the continuation of a lineage of survival. It is a life that is defined by the absolute necessity of the hearth, and watching it be kindled gives you a new appreciation for the simple daily acts that sustain your own existence. In the modern world, we often take the flick of a switch or the turn of a dial for granted, losing the connection between our actions and the comfort they provide. Here, the connection is visible, tangible, and deeply respected. As the fire gains strength, the tailor stands and walks to the small wooden dresser, their movements fluid and quiet. They reach for a bowl carved from dark, polished oak, and for a moment they stand still, looking out toward the window. Through the glass, you see the fog beginning to break, revealing patches of dark, brooding green in the glens and the sharp, jagged silhouette of a mountain peak against the lightening sky. It is a view of profound, indifferent beauty. The mountains do not care who lives in this croft, nor do they care for the struggles of the tailor, yet there is a silent, ancient bond between them. The tailor's face, touched by the first light of the sun, reflects a quiet acceptance of this reality. They know their place in the landscape and they are content with it. There is no ambition to conquer, only the desire to exist in balance with the wild. You feel a sudden, sharp clarity of purpose. You have spent your time here learning the value of the slow, the deliberate, and the essential. As the room warms, you watch the tailor pick up the heavy woolen kirtle, the product of their long, painstaking labor, and run a hand over the final reinforced seam of the hood. There is a sense of quiet pride in the gesture. This garment is their contribution to the world, a shield against the elements, a gift of protection for another. It is the culmination of their skill and their patience, and as they fold it and place it on a wooden stool ready for its owner, the scene feels complete. The night's work has led to the morning's readiness. There is no loose end, no unfinished business. Everything has been tended to, everything has been cared for, and everything is prepared for what the day might bring. This realization brings a final, settling peace to your own mind. You have been a guest in a home that knows no chaos, only the rhythmic flow of the seasons and the steady, honest work of human hands. You have seen how the cold of the Atlantic and the fog of the mountains are kept at bay by the warmth of a fire and the strength of a stitch. You have learned that the secret to enduring the long, dark nights of life is not to fight the darkness, but to build a fire, to gather your tools and to wait with patience and intention for the light to return. The tailor turns toward you, or rather toward the space where you have been sitting, and offers a small, knowing nod, as if acknowledging the silent company you have kept. They pick up the kirtle, open the heavy oak door, and step out into the clearing morning. And as the door swings shut, you are left in the warm, quiet heart of the croft, ready to carry this peace back into the world you came from. The morning air outside the croft is sharp and invigorating, a complete departure from the sheltered, peat-warmed atmosphere of the night. As the door closes, you find yourself lingering in the memory of the warmth, your senses still echoing with the quiet rhythm of the stone-walled space. The transition is profound. You have spent hours or perhaps lifetimes in the meditative focus of 1540, and now, as the light of day fully reveals the rugged, mist-covered landscape, you feel a deep sense of renewal. The Highlands are a vast, untamed expanse, a place where the earth itself feels ancient and alive, and as the fog continues to lift, revealing the dark, shimmering surface of a distant loch and the verdant, moss-covered slopes of the surrounding hills, you are struck by the sheer scale of the world. Yet, despite the vastness, you carry the intimate comfort of the croft within you, a sanctuary that exists now not just in time, but in your own heart. If you have felt the transformative power of this journey, if the steady, deliberate work of the tailor and the eternal silence of the Highland peaks have helped you find your own centre, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support is the cornerstone of our work, the very foundation upon which we build these immersive portals into the past. By joining our community, you enable us to continue crafting these spaces of stillness and reflection, ensuring that the ancient, restorative wisdom of history remains a vital, accessible resource for all who seek it. We invite you to stay with us, to continue these explorations of time and craft, and to let our stories be the quiet thread that weaves through the fabric of your own busy life, providing you with a consistent, reliable source of peace. Think of the resilience that defines the Highland way of life. The people who built these crofts, who shorn these sheep, who wove these cloaks, were not living in a time of ease. They faced threats from the elements, from hunger, and from the unpredictable nature of the world. And yet, they did not live in a state of constant, frantic anxiety. They lived with a steady, enduring pragmatism. They met the demands of the day, they respected the power of the landscape, and they found joy in the simple, necessary accomplishments of their work. There is a deep, fundamental sanity in that approach. It reminds us that no matter how difficult the circumstances, we have the power to create our own order, our own warmth, and our own quiet, focused purpose. We have the power to stitch our own lives together with the thread of our own intention. As the sun climbs higher, the mist becomes a shimmering golden haze, and the entire landscape seems to wake up in a rush of light and colour. The vibrant dark greens of the moss, the deep earthy browns of the heather, and the stark, brilliant grey of the granite peaks come alive, creating a tapestry of colour that is almost overwhelming in its beauty. You are standing in the middle of this vast, natural cathedral, feeling the cool, clean wind on your face and the groundedness of the earth beneath your feet. It is a moment of total presence. The noise of the future is gone. The shadows of the past have been integrated into the peace of the present. You are here fully, completely, and without reservation. You have learned that the strength to face the world does not come from rushing or from seeking, but from the ability to return again and again to the hearth of your own soul. You see the tailor in the distance, walking along a narrow, winding path that leads toward the higher pastures, their shoulders draped in a spare, sturdy cloak of their own making. They walk with a measured, steady gait, their eyes fixed on the horizon, moving through the wild, beautiful landscape with a confidence that only comes from knowing exactly who you are and what your purpose is. There is no trace of the tailor you watched in the Croft. They are now part of the mountain, a figure in the grand, sweeping narrative of the land. It is a perfect final image of integration. The work is done, the person has moved on, and the world continues its slow, majestic rotation. You too must now move on, but you do so with a new, quiet strength. You have been changed by the silence of the stones and the patience of the craft. As you begin your own journey back, you find that the world feels different. It is no longer a place of chaotic, unceasing demands, but a place of possibility, a landscape of opportunity to act with the same intention, the same care, and the same quiet, steady resolve as the tailor. You are carrying the peace of the Croft with you, a light that you can ignite whenever you need it. The fog will return, the cold will bite, and the world will continue to be vast and indifferent, but that no longer matters. You have found the sanctuary within yourself, the place where the fire is always lit, where the wool is always being woven, and where you are always, always at rest. Thank you for walking this path with us, and may you carry this quiet Highland peace with you for all the days to come. The morning is now fully established, and the valley is awash in the pale, ethereal light of a sun struggling to burn through the last remnants of the Atlantic mist. You stand alone near the site of the Croft, the silence here profound and absolute. The stones, still damp with the night's dew, seem to radiate a quiet, ancient intelligence, as if they are holding the memory of the warmth that dwelt within them only moments ago. You look toward the path where the tailor disappeared, but there is no sign of them now, only the vast, rolling green of the glen, punctuated by the jagged teeth of the mountain peaks. The landscape has a way of swallowing the presence of humans, reminding you that here, people are but fleeting visitors in a realm ruled by rock, wind, and water. This realization, rather than feeling isolating, is deeply liberating. It strips away the ego, leaving you with a clean, honest sense of self that is not dependent on status, possessions, or recognition. You begin to walk, your steps feeling lighter than they did when you first arrived. The earth beneath your boots is firm and resilient, a mixture of peat, gravel, and tangled roots that yield just enough to feel grounded. With every step, you find yourself breathing in the air of the Highlands, a mixture of cold oxygen, salt-tinged breeze, and the faint, sweet decay of autumn vegetation. It is a sensory input that is entirely unfiltered, a direct connection to the raw vitality of the planet. You realize that in the modern world, we filter our experiences through glass, through metal, and through digital interfaces, often losing the visceral, physical reality of the ground we walk upon here. There is no filter. You are walking on the earth, in the wind, under the sky. This raw exposure, once feared, now feels like a homecoming. As you navigate the gentle slopes, you notice the flora of the Highlands, hardy, persistent plants that thrive in the cracks of the granite and the saturated bogs. Tough, resilient grasses, the deep, dark purple of heather stems waiting for the next season, and the moss that coats every available surface in a lush, velvet blanket. These plants don't rush, they adapt. They grow when the light is available, they endure when the frost arrives, and they do so with a silent, unwavering commitment to existence. You are reminded of the tailor's hands, the way they moved through the thick wool without haste, knowing that the quality of the stitch was more important than the speed of the output. This is the rhythm of the Highlands, and it is a rhythm that you are beginning to internalize. You are no longer measuring your progress by how much distance you cover, but by how deeply you connect with each step. The path eventually widens as it descends toward the floor of the glen, where the ground becomes softer and more lush. Here the presence of water is everywhere, a small rushing burn that cuts through the landscape, its surface shimmering like liquid silver. You stop by its bank, watching the water swirl over moss-covered stones. It is clear, cold, and relentlessly moving toward the sea. The sound is a constant melodic murmur, a lullaby that has been sung by these mountains for eons. You kneel and cup your hands, drinking the water. It is bracingly cold, tasting of minerals and the deep silent life of the earth. It is the most refreshing thing you have ever experienced. In that moment of hydration, of physical replenishment, you feel a profound sense of gratitude for the simple elemental necessities of life. You spend a long time by the stream, watching the light change as the clouds move across the sky. You are learning the art of observation, the practice of simply looking at the world without the need to analyze, criticize, or change it. It is a skill that seems to have been lost in the rush of modern life, where we are trained to judge everything against a standard of efficiency or productivity. But here the efficiency of nature is its own standard. The stream doesn't need to be faster, the mountain doesn't need to be higher, and the glen doesn't need to be greener. They are perfect as they are, and as you sit there you allow yourself to be perfect as you are too. You let go of the self-judgment that typically accompanies your internal dialogue, replacing it with the quiet, expansive acceptance that the mountains provide. The day continues to unfold, and you find yourself feeling a strange, deep sense of belonging to this rugged, unforgiving, yet utterly beautiful place. You have travelled through the fog, into the Croft, through the night, and out into the morning, and the journey has acted as a crucible. The impurities of your stress, your ambition, and your restless mind have been burned away by the peat fire and washed clean by the morning mist. You are left with the core of your own humanity, and you realize that this core is solid, reliable, and fundamentally peaceful. The Highlands have taught you that even when the world is covered in a thick, impenetrable fog, the hearth is still burning, the work is still happening, and the peace is still waiting for you to find it. As you prepare to move further down the glen, you know that you are taking this peace with you, a steady glowing light that will never truly go out. As you descend further into the heart of the glen, the landscape shifts from the sharp, jagged edges of the mountain peaks to the rolling, sweeping curves of the valley floor. The air here is warmer, trapped by the protection of the surrounding hills, and the sense of isolation is replaced by a feeling of profound, quiet companionship with the land. You pass small, abandoned structures, stone circles, and the ruins of long-forgotten hearths that speak of lives lived in the distant past. These are the ghosts of the Highlands, the silent witnesses to the resilience of those who came before. Standing amidst these echoes of history, you feel a sudden, sharp connection to the human lineage. You are part of a long, unbroken chain of beings who have sought shelter, warmth, and meaning in this landscape. The tailor you observed was simply one link in that chain, a representative of a spirit that has always existed here. You sit upon a flat, lichen-covered stone to rest, looking back toward the height of the mountain where the Croft stands, hidden now by a screen of gorse and mist. From here you can see the scale of the valley, the way the geography dictates the life of those who inhabit it. The paths are determined by the contours of the land. The homes are built where the stone is plentiful and the water is clean, and the pace of life is dictated by the sunrise and the sunset. It is a world of logic where every cause has a clear effect and every action is rooted in a fundamental need. This is the antidote to the confusion of modern life, where causes and effects are often hidden behind layers of bureaucracy, technology, and abstraction. Here the world is honest. If you work, you stay warm. If you gather, you have food. If you build, you have shelter. The wind begins to pick up, a low melodic whistle that moves through the tops of the grasses, creating a soft, rippling wave that stretches as far as the eye can see. It is a rhythmic, hypnotic movement that draws your eyes toward the horizon. You find that you are no longer thinking in words but in shapes, sounds, and sensations. The intellectual weight of your previous life, the analysis of social trends, the worry about professional milestones, the concern for the future has been replaced by the immediate, sensory reality of the present. You are feeling the texture of the wind, the temperature of the light, and the subtle changing pressure of the ground beneath your feet. You are living in the body, a state of being that is almost entirely forgotten when one spends their life behind a screen. This state of physical sensory awareness is deeply relaxing. When you're fully in your body, the mind has no choice but to stop racing. It has to pay attention to the environment, and in that attention it finds rest. You realize that your stress was not a product of your environment, but a product of your mind's tendency to disconnect from the physical reality of the moment. By returning to the body, by feeling the air and the earth, you are breaking the cycle of stress that has kept you trapped. You are finding that the world is not a place of endless demands, but a place of endless, simple beauty. The wind is just air moving, the grass is just sunlight transformed into matter, and you are just a part of the whole existing in the only place that matters, the here and the now. The sun is beginning to reach its zenith, casting a bright, clear light that illuminates the tiny details of the ground at your feet. You see a beetle navigating a blade of grass, a tiny creature with a purpose and a rhythm of its own. You see the intricate patterns of the moss, the way it branches out in miniature forests of green. You see the tiny, fragile flowers that cling to the sheltered side of a rock, blooming in spite of the cold. The level of detail in the world is infinite, and you realize that you have spent your life looking over it, seeking big, significant moments while missing the miraculous reality of the tiny daily ones. This perspective shift is a form of healing. It teaches you that significance is not a matter of scale but of attention. Everything is significant if you choose to see it. As you prepare to continue your journey, you feel a sense of clarity that is almost startling. You are leaving the glen, but you are not leaving the peace you found there. You are taking it with you. The silence of the stone, the warmth of the peat, the precision of the stitch, and the patient rhythmic turning of the Highland day, these are now part of your internal landscape. You are a person who knows how to build a fire, how to be still, and how to find meaning in the essential. You are a person who has walked through the fog and come out into the light. And as you walk forward toward the horizon, you feel a quiet, unwavering confidence. You are ready for whatever comes next, because you know that no matter what, you have the ability to return to this sanctuary, to close your eyes, and to find the warmth of the hearth, even in the coldest, darkest fog of the world. The path you are now walking leads you through a narrow pass where the mountain walls rise steeply on either side, creating a natural corridor of shadow and light. The air here is noticeably cooler, untouched by the direct warmth of the sun, and carries the scent of damp moss and ancient undisturbed earth. It is a place that feels as if time has stopped entirely, a stone-bound archive of the geological forces that carved this landscape. As you move forward, the sound of your own footsteps is muted, absorbed by the thick layer of lichen and decay that cushions the rocky path. This is a space of introspection, a physical echo of the inner silence you have cultivated throughout your journey. It is easy in this narrow passage to see your own life in perspective, a small, brief occurrence in a world of mountain building and river carving time. The worries that once seemed monumental now appear as fleeting as the mist that swirls at the mountain peaks. This profound sense of perspective is the final gift of the Highlands. It is not an abandonment of your responsibilities or your identity, but a tempering of them. You recognize that while your actions are yours to choose, the outcomes are subject to the vast, slow-turning nature of the world. This realization allows you to release the tight grip of control you have held over your own existence. You can work with the same care as the tailor. You can strive with the same integrity as the mountain builders, but you can do so with a lightness of heart, knowing that you are merely a part of a much larger, more magnificent unfolding. If this journey has provided you with that sense of lightness, that capacity to breathe freely again, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your commitment to these stories allows us to hold this space for you, to keep the virtual peat fire burning, and to ensure that when the world feels too heavy, you have a place to return to realign your spirit, and to remember the stillness that resides within you. As you emerge from the narrow pass, the landscape opens up once more, revealing a broad, sweeping view of the distant coast. The fog has completely dispersed, replaced by a crystalline clarity that lets you see for miles. The ocean is a band of deep, metallic blue at the edge of the horizon, and the sky is a vast open canopy of pale, brilliant azure. The contrast between the dark, enclosed world of the Croft and this sudden expansive vista is breathtaking. It is the perfect conclusion to your journey, a transition from the focused, intimate warmth of the hearth to the limitless, wild possibilities of the world at large. You feel a sense of exhilaration, a readiness to step back into the flow of your own life, but with a foundational peace that was absent before. You have seen the depth of the interior, and you have seen the width of the horizon, and you know how to balance the two. You find yourself slowing your pace, savoring the feeling of the wind against your skin. It is no longer just air. It is the breath of the world, carrying the scent of the sea, the salt and the distant unseen reaches of the northern lands. You are aware of your body in a way you never were before. The strength of your legs, the steady rhythm of your breathing, the focus of your gaze. You are fully integrated, a coherent whole moving through a landscape that is equally coherent. There is a profound, quiet beauty in this unity. You are no longer divided between what you have to do and who you want to be. The two have merged. Your work is your life, and your life is your witness to the beauty of the present moment. As the path begins to level out toward the edge of the glen, you pass a final weathered marker stone, a tall, upright slab of slate, worn smooth by centuries of rain and wind. It stands as a silent sentinel, a reminder of the many travelers who have passed this way before, each seeking their own path, each finding their own rhythm. You place a hand on its cold, hard surface, a gesture of respect for the journey and for those who have walked it. It is a moment of closing, a way to honor the experiences you have gathered. You have been changed, quietly and fundamentally, and you are ready to carry this change forward. The croft, the tailor, the fire, and the mountain fog, they remain in their time, in their place, as a living, breathing part of the fabric of the Highlands, but they are also now part of you. Your final steps take you away from the glen and toward the familiar sights of the world you must return to. Yet as you walk, you realize that you are not leaving the Highland spirit behind. You are carrying it with you like a well-made garment, a protective cloak of calm that you can wrap around yourself whenever the winds of the modern world begin to blow. You have the fire inside you now, the steady, patient rhythm of the tailor in your heart, and the expansive, quiet strength of the mountains in your soul. The journey was not about escaping your life, it was about learning how to live it with more care, more patience, and more peace. And as you step over the threshold of your own day, ready to face the work and the challenges that await, you do so with a smile. The work is ready, the hearth is waiting, and you are home. The journey home is not a departure from the lessons of the Highland Croft, but rather the true beginning of their application. As you move away from the wild, rugged terrain of the glen, the terrain of your own life begins to look different. The frantic pace that once felt mandatory now feels like an optional distraction, a layer of noise that you can choose to tune out. You find yourself noticing the small, essential details of your surroundings, the way the light falls across your desk, the steady rhythm of your own breathing, the honest physical texture of the objects you use in your daily labor. You are bringing the perspective of the 1540s into the present, weaving the patience of the tailor into the fabric of your modern existence. It is a subtle internal transformation, a shift in the gravity of your being that keeps you anchored, even when the world around you seems to be spinning out of control. You think often of the fire in your modern world. You may not have a stone hearth fueled by peat, but you have the capacity to build a fire of focus and intent within your own mind. Whenever the fog of anxiety begins to roll in, whenever the cold winds of expectation start to bite, you now know how to retreat to that inner sanctuary. You know how to gather the dry twigs of your focus, how to shelter the small flickering spark of your peace, and how to nurture it until it burns with a steady protective heat. This is the ultimate portable sanctuary. It is not dependent on walls or roofs or geography. It is dependent on your ability to pause, to breathe, and to remember the quiet strength of the Highlands. You are no longer vulnerable to the external environment, for you carry your own atmosphere with you, a climate of calm that you have built with your own deliberate choices. There is also the matter of the cloak, that heavy, well-stitched garment that occupied the tailor's hands for so long. You realize that your own work, whatever form it takes, is that cloak. Whether you are creating, managing, solving, or serving, you are stitching together a garment of meaning. When you approach your tasks with the same integrity as the tailor, when you ensure that every stitch is strong and every seam is reinforced, you are creating something that protects and provides. Your work is your contribution to the well-being of your own community, a barrier against the cold of apathy and a source of warmth for those who encounter it. To see work this way is to strip away the grind and reveal the dignity. You are not just doing a job, you are practicing a craft, and the quality of your craft is the measure of your commitment to the world around you. As you reflect on the experience, you feel a deep, quiet appreciation for the limitations of that small stone croft. It was in the very restriction of the space, in the lack of excess, that the abundance of the experience was found. In our modern lives, we often equate freedom with unlimited choice, with an endless variety of options that can leave us feeling scattered and overwhelmed. The Highlands taught you that true freedom is found in limitation. By choosing to focus on the essential, on the fire, on the wool, on the needle, on the stone, you found the fullness of life. You have the power to apply this principle today. You can choose to limit the noise, to limit the distractions, to limit the false demands on your time. And in that narrowing of focus, you will find the freedom to truly be present, to truly be yourself, and to truly live. The memory of the fog remains not as a threat, but as a reminder of the inevitable mysteries and challenges that define the human condition. Life will always have its mists, its moments of confusion, and its periods of cold. But these are not reasons to despair. They are the natural state of the world, the environment within which we build our homes and hone our skills. You are no longer afraid of the fog. You know that it is temporary, that it is superficial, and that beneath it, the mountains stand firm and the fire keeps burning. You have developed a resilience that is not based on the absence of difficulty, but on the presence of an inner resource. You are built for this. You are capable of navigating the mist, of finding your way back to the hearth, and of resting in the absolute safety of your own inner peace. Finally, you feel the completion of the cycle. The journey was a circle, beginning in the modern world, traveling through the quiet history of the Highlands, and returning you to the present, changed and empowered. You are back where you started, but you are not the same. You have been tempered by the stone and warmed by the peat. You have been witness to the quiet, unheralded nobility of a life lived with care, and you have made that nobility your own. The world is calling to you. The day is full of potential, and you are ready to engage with it, not with the urgency of the past, but with the steady, patient, and deeply rooted wisdom of the tailor. The fire is burning, the thread is ready, and the cloak of your life is waiting to be finished. Step forward with confidence and calm, for you are exactly where you are meant to be, and you are always, always protected by the warmth you carry within. The sun has risen to its full commanding height, washing the world in a clarity that feels almost startling after the long sheltered intimacy of the Croft. You find yourself walking along a ridge that overlooks the sprawling interconnected glens, the view stretching out to encompass a landscape that feels infinite in its quiet power. The wind here is stronger, whipping around your shoulders with a brisk, persistent energy that carries the scent of salt from the distant Atlantic. It is an exhilarating feeling, this combination of physical exertion and mental stillness. You realize that the pace of your life is no longer dictated by the frantic expectations of the outside world, but by the internal rhythm you discovered in the silence of the Croft. You are moving with the deliberate, measured ease of the tailor, a gait that covers ground efficiently without ever rushing, respecting both the path ahead and the body that carries you across it. In this expansive space, you reflect on the nature of the Croft's endurance. It was not built to be beautiful by the standards of the lowland courts or the distant cities. It was built to survive. Every stone was laid with the specific intention of holding back the wind. Every beam was notched to defy the weight of winter snows. This is the ultimate form of wisdom, to align one's efforts with the realities of one's environment. We often waste our time fighting the nature of our lives, trying to build glass towers in the middle of a storm, wondering why our structures shatter under the pressure. The lesson of the Highlands is to build for the weather you have, not the weather you wish for. When you align your expectations with the truth of your reality, you stop fighting the wind and start learning how to move with it, using its energy to power your own progress. You stop to observe a cluster of wild rowan trees clinging to a rocky outcrop, their bright red berries providing a sharp, defiant pop of color against the austere gray of the mountain. They too are masters of endurance, thriving in soil that would starve more fragile plants. They are a mirror for the life you observed in the Croft. There is an inherent beauty in this hardness, a testament to the fact that when you stop demanding that the world be soft, you discover how much beauty and vibrancy can exist within the hard. This is a profound shift in perspective. You are no longer seeking an easy life. You are seeking a life that is authentic, a life that is as sturdy and well-crafted as the cloak you saw being born of bone and wool. You understand now that the struggle is not an obstacle to your peace, it is the environment in which your peace is forged. The silence of the ridge is punctuated by the distant, lonely call of a hawk circling high above the valley. It is a sharp, piercing sound that seems to cut through the vastness, reminding you of the wild, unmediated reality of this landscape. You feel a thrill of connection to that bird, to the mountains, and to the sprawling hidden potential of the world below. There is a wildness in you too, a part of your soul that thrives on the wind, that seeks the truth of the horizon, and that knows how to survive in the dark. By acknowledging this wild part, you find that the modern world's artificial anxieties hold no more power over you. You have seen the mountains, you have touched the stone, and you have sat by the hearth. You are equipped, you are ready. As you look toward the horizon, you realize that the journey has not really ended, it has simply transitioned. The lessons of the Highland Croft are not meant to be kept in a box, to be opened only when things get difficult. They are meant to be the foundation upon which you build every single day. You will take this peace with you into the city, into the office, into the crowded streets, and into the demanding interactions of your life. You will carry the tailor's needle in your focus, the peat fire in your warmth, and the mountain stone in your resolve. You are the architect of your own sanctuary, and you have everything you need to keep it burning bright, regardless of the temperature of the world outside. You take one final deep breath of the cold Highland air, filling your lungs with the clarity of the heights, and you turn your face toward the path that leads back to your own life, moving forward with the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who has finally, truly come home. The descent from the high ridge leads you through a landscape that feels like a slow-motion unraveling of the Highland grandeur. The terrain softens, the aggressive granite gives way to gentle mounds of bracken and clover, and the wind, while still present, loses its piercing Arctic edge. You are traveling through a corridor of time where the echoes of the mountains still vibrate against the surface of your skin, yet the air carries the subtle, sweet promise of lower elevations. With every mile that slips away beneath your feet, you find yourself processing the immense silence you have gathered. It is not a silence that feels empty, it is a weight, a density of experience that provides a new baseline for your existence. You realize that you have been carrying a constant low-level vibration of noise in your mind for years, a static hum of anticipation, judgment, and reaction. That static has been replaced by the steady, resonant frequency of the Highlands, and the difference in your cognitive clarity is stark. You feel, for the first time in a long time, that you are entirely and authentically in control of your own internal volume. You consider the tailor once more, imagining them at this very moment, perhaps walking the same path or sitting by the fire, their life continuing in that beautiful, unbroken loop of purpose and rest. The beauty of their life lies in its lack of fragmentation. They do not split their attention between a virtual self and a physical one. They are entirely contained within the action of the present. Their work is their prayer, their home is their world, their craft is their legacy. In the modern world, we are taught to value multitasking, to juggle 1,000 inputs, and to measure our importance by the breadth of our influence. But the tailor's example suggests that the depth of one's engagement is far more significant than the breadth. When you commit fully to the task at hand, when you sew the stitch, when you tend the fire, when you listen to the silence, you are engaging with the profound depth of human existence. You are honoring the capacity for concentration, which is perhaps the most precious gift we have. This realization transforms how you view the challenges waiting for you back in your own life. The complex, often overwhelming tasks that once seemed like mountainous burdens now appear as individual stitches in a larger garment. They are not something to be conquered or feared. They are something to be worked, to be folded, to be joined with patience and precision. You have learned that the quality of your life is not determined by the difficulty of your problems, but by the quality of your attention. If you bring the focus of the Croft to your own modern work, the friction disappears. You are no longer struggling against the tide, you are swimming with the current of your own competence. The shift from an adversarial relationship with your obligations to a craft-based relationship is a powerful, liberating transition. You are no longer a victim of your schedule, you are the artisan of your time. The valley floor eventually meets a wider, more established path, one that hints at the proximity of other people and the structure of society. It is a sign of your return, but there is no apprehension in this discovery. You are not losing the peace you found in the Highlands, you are exporting it. You are bringing a different frequency into the world, a grounded, steady energy that will naturally influence everything you touch. You have become a container for the stillness, a living, breathing testament to the fact that peace is possible even when the surroundings are not ideal. This is the ultimate purpose of your journey, to prove to yourself that your inner state is a choice, not a product of your circumstances. You have done the work, you have sat by the fire, you have watched the light, and you have integrated the lesson. Now, the lesson is ready to be put to the test, and you feel entirely prepared to accept that challenge. As the sun begins its downward arc, casting long golden shadows across the glen, you take one last moment to stop and observe the world. The mountains are bathed in a soft burning light, their peaks seemingly ablaze with the promise of the coming twilight. It is a moment of profound, quiet splendor, an invitation to recognize the beauty that exists in the world regardless of our involvement in it. You are a small part of this beauty, a conscious participant in the majesty of the planet, and that is enough. You do not need to leave a legacy, you do not need to be remembered, and you do not need to achieve grand things. To exist, to see, and to appreciate, this is the fundamental, beautiful purpose of a human life. You are satisfied with this truth, and you turn your back on the mountains not with a feeling of loss, but with a heart full of gratitude. The final stretch of your path is marked by the appearance of common wildflowers, bluebells and daisies, dancing in the light breeze. They are the transition point between the wild and the inhabited, the gentle heralds of the world you are about to rejoin. You walk past them with a steady, relaxed gait, your spirit feeling lighter than the air itself. You are moving toward the future, but you are bringing the wisdom of the past with you. The Croft is behind you, but it is also within you. The night is approaching, but you are not afraid of the dark. You have built your hearth, you have finished your work, and you are ready to face whatever the dawn might bring. You are whole, you are steady, and you are at peace. The path ahead is clear, and the quiet, enduring strength of the Highlands is your constant companion. The transition back to the rhythm of the everyday world is a process of unfolding, like the slow opening of a fern frond under the morning sun. You are navigating the boundaries between the solitude of the mountain and the collective pulse of humanity, and you find that you are no longer buffeted by the latter. Instead, you observe the world with the calm detachment of a mountain peak. The noise of commerce, the clamor of voices, and the endless frantic movement of people, all of these things are present, yet they lack the power to disturb the sanctuary you have cultivated within. You realize that you have moved from a state of reactive existence to a state of anchored presence. The Highland fog, once a symbol of disorientation, has become a metaphor for the temporary nature of confusion. You know now that no matter how thick the mist, the path remains, the earth is solid, and the hearth is waiting. You are operating from a foundation of quiet, unshakable self-reliance. Think of the materials that built your sanctuary: stone, peat, wool, and bone. These are things of the earth, primal and honest. In your own life you have materials too: the thoughts you choose, the work you perform, the relationships you nurture, and the values you hold. You have learned that these too must be treated with the same respect as the tailor's wool. If you use poor materials, if you build with haste, if you neglect the essential, your life will not stand against the storms. But when you build with integrity, when you choose quality over quantity, and when you honor the process over the result, you build a life that can weather any winter. You have the tools and you have the blueprint. You are no longer just living a life, you are crafting it, stitch by deliberate stitch, with the patience of a master who understands that time is not an enemy to be raced, but a medium to be shaped. You are walking through a valley that feels familiar, yet it is transformed. The structures of civilization, the roads, the houses, the distant buzz of machinery, all of these elements appear different through the lens of your experience. They are not obstacles to your peace. They are simply the environment in which you are called to exist. The tailor did not hide from the world because they were weak. They prepared themselves so they could endure and thrive in the world as it was. You are doing the same. You are taking the quietude of the croft and using it to color your interactions. You are listening more deeply, speaking more thoughtfully, and moving with a greater degree of intentionality. You are proving that the peace of the mountain is not something you leave behind. It is something you export into the very heart of the modern bustle. The evening is approaching, and the light is taking on that familiar amber quality you grew to love by the hearth. In the city, this light hits the glass and steel of the skyline, creating a different kind of beauty, a cold metallic brilliance that contrasts with the deep earthy richness of the glen. Yet, you find beauty in it all. You are no longer looking for one kind of truth. You recognize that the truth of the mountain and the truth of the city are part of the same larger reality. You are a bridge between the two, an individual who knows how to find the stillness in the noise and the hearth in the cold. This is a powerful position to hold. You are no longer a spectator of your own life, buffeted by the changing weather of circumstances. You are a participant, a conscious agent who knows how to build warmth wherever you go. As you reach the threshold of your own home, you pause. This is a moment of profound significance. You are returning to the place where you live, but you are bringing a new Highland spirit with you. You realize that your home, regardless of its size, its style, or its contents, can be a croft. It can be a place of protection, a place of craft, and a place of rest. You have the power to curate your space, to fill it with the things that nourish your soul, to keep your fire lit, and to cultivate a silence that welcomes the peace you have found. You don't need 1,000 years of history to create a sanctuary. You only need the intention to do so. You have that intention now, sharp and clear as a bone needle. You are ready to step inside and begin the work of making your own personal Highlands. The door opens, and you step into the familiar space of your own life. Everything is as you left it, yet everything is imbued with a new sense of potential. You see your work, your belongings, and your responsibilities, and you feel no dread. You feel only a sense of readiness. You are a person of the hearth, a weaver of meaning, and a builder of peace. The world outside will continue its cycle, the fog will roll, and the winds will blow. But you are not afraid. You have walked the mountain, you have sat in the croft, and you have learned the secret of the stitch. You are protected, you are prepared, and you are entirely, perfectly at peace. The fire is lit within you, and it will burn for as long as you choose to feed it. Welcome home. The transition from the wild, sweeping vistas of the Highlands to the contained space of your own home is a gentle shifting of gears, a quiet alignment of your inner compass with the physical reality of your life. As you step across the threshold, you do not immediately set to work or immerse yourself in the demands that typically greet you. Instead, you stand for a moment in the silence of your own entryway, allowing the sensation of the journey to settle into your bones. The air in your home feels different now, not empty or merely functional, but pregnant with possibility. It is a space you have inhabited for years, yet you see it with new sharpened eyes. You notice the way the light catches the corner of a table, the texture of the fabric on a chair, the quiet waiting potential of a blank page or an unfinished project. You are no longer just a person living in a house. You are the keeper of a hearth, the architect of a sanctuary. You move to the kitchen, a space that often serves as the modern equivalent of the Croft's hearth. There is no open peat fire here, no scent of burning heather, but there is the same opportunity for deliberate, mindful action. You fill a kettle with water, watching the movement of the liquid, listening to the metallic clinking of the tap, feeling the cool weight of the vessel in your hands. Every movement is done with the precision of the tailor. You are not rushing to satisfy a thirst. You are performing the ritual of nourishment. This focus transforms a mundane chore into a meditative act. You realize that the peace you found in the mountains was never about the mountains themselves. It was about the quality of the attention you brought to the mountain experience. You can bring that same quality of attention to boiling water, to cleaning a surface, to preparing a meal. The Highlands are not a place, they are a mode of being. As the water begins to heat, you look out the window at the world beyond. The street outside is active, cars moving, people walking. the city pulse beating in its familiar rapid cadence. Once this sight might have stirred a sense of anxiety or a feeling of being left behind by the pace of the world. Now it feels like nothing more than the weather, a dynamic, changing environment that exists outside your walls. You are secure within your own frame. The peace you carry is like the thick, insulating wool of the kirtle. It is a barrier between you and the chaotic energy of the environment. You find that you can watch the world with compassion and even a sense of wonder, without feeling the need to be pulled into its frantic momentum. You have learned the art of observation without participation, a skill that is essential for maintaining inner stability. You make your tea and take it to the space where you do your most significant work. Whether that is a desk, a studio, or simply a comfortable chair, you sit down not to conquer a list, but to engage with the craft of your life. You think back to the tailor in the Croft, the way they didn't rush the fabric, the way they respected the integrity of the flax thread. You resolve to approach your own responsibilities in the same way. You will not view your tasks as obstacles to be overcome. You will view them as materials to be worked. You will treat your commitments with the same dignity the tailor showed the wool. When you do this, the nature of work changes entirely. It is no longer about the exhaustion of output. It is about the satisfaction of alignment. You are fulfilling your purpose, stitch by stitch, line by line, day by day. The afternoon light begins to wane, and the room dims, a natural darkening that mirrors the transition you witnessed in the Highlands. Instead of immediately turning on every light to banish the shadows, you leave the room in its soft, natural gloom, reminiscent of the firelit Croft. In this dimness, you feel a greater sense of clarity. The artificial glare of the modern world often blinds us to the subtler truths of our existence, but in the shadows the mind becomes more contemplative and the heart more receptive. You are comfortable here. You are not afraid of the dark, for you know that the dark is the place where rest is born, where thoughts consolidate, and where the spirit finds the space to breathe. You sit with your tea, listening to the distant, muted sounds of the world, feeling the deep, solid reality of your own existence. This is the life you have chosen, and it is a life that is fundamentally yours. You are no longer living according to the expectations of others, nor are you driven by the fear of missing out. You are driven by the internal necessity of being authentic, of being present, and of being at peace. You understand now that the Highlands did not give you this peace. They merely reflected it back to you, showing you what was already there, buried beneath the layers of noise. You have excavated it, you have polished it, and now you are living from it. The journey is complete, yet it is also in a very real sense just beginning. Every morning from here on out will be a chance to start the fire. Every day will be a chance to weave the cloak, and every night will be a chance to rest in the sanctuary you have built. You are whole, you are capable, and you are entirely at home. The evening deepens, and the quiet within your home takes on a richer, more resonant quality. You find yourself moving with a deliberate slowness that feels both foreign and deeply natural, a pace that respects the gravity of each action. There is a profound comfort in this slowness. It allows you to notice things that would otherwise vanish in the blur of a rushed existence, the way the shadows lengthen against the wall, the specific, unique silence of a house after the day's work is done, the slow, rhythmic cooling of the air. You are observing your own life with the same keen, appreciative eye that you brought to the study of the Croft. You are realizing that the sanctity of a space is not found in its grand design, but in the reverence with which its inhabitant treats the small daily movements that occur within it. To be present is to be sacred. As you sit in the deepening dusk, your thoughts return to the Highland tailor one final time. You visualize them perhaps now sitting by their own fire, the cloak finished and folded, the day's labor complete. There is a beautiful circular symmetry to their existence, a life of clear beginnings and satisfying ends. In your own world, this circularity is often disrupted by the demands of a persistent, digital connectivity that creates a feeling of never-ending obligation. But tonight, you decide to draw a line. You recognize that you have the authority to define the boundaries of your own day. You can choose when the work ends, when the fire is banked, and when the sanctuary begins. By exercising this authority, You are not closing yourself off from the world. You are ensuring that when you do engage with the world, you do so from a place of strength, clarity, and genuine readiness. You walk to the window and look out at the cityscape, now transformed by the artificial lights of the night. It is a brilliant, glittering display, a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless push of progress. Yet, looking at it through the lens of the Highland experience, you see it differently. The lights are not a cacophony, they are a million little hearths, each representing a life being lived, a struggle being navigated, a sanctuary being maintained. You feel a sudden, warm sense of connection to all those other people, tucked away in their own rooms, facing their own nights. You are all part of the same human experiment, trying to find warmth in the cold, trying to weave meaning out of the chaos, trying to survive and thrive in the face of the vast, indifferent universe. You are not alone. You are simply participating in a different part of the same ancient, ongoing story. The hum of the city, which once might have felt oppressive, now sounds like the low, constant drone of a distant ocean. It is the backdrop of modern existence, the sound of the hive, and you are comfortable within it because you know how to retreat to your own center. You realize that the peace you found in the Croft is not fragile. It does not require the absence of noise, it requires the presence of a quiet center. As long as you maintain that center, as long as you remember the feeling of the stone, the texture of the wool, and the steady, unhurried movement of the needle, you can be in the middle of the most crowded, chaotic city and still be fundamentally at rest. You have learnt the skill of carrying your own landscape with you, a portable internal Highland that is always available. You return to your seat and close your eyes, taking a deep, restorative breath. You visualize the Croft one last time, the low stone walls, the glowing peat, the patient, rhythmic figure of the tailor. You hold this image in your mind, letting its stillness permeate your thoughts until you are entirely at peace. You are not trying to be somewhere else. You are fully inhabiting the space you're in, and you're finding it to be exactly enough. This is the ultimate realization that you are enough, your life is enough, and the present moment is enough. Everything you have been searching for has been waiting for you all along, hidden in the simple, honest, and quiet work of living. As you prepare for sleep, you feel a sense of profound, well-earned exhaustion. It is not the jagged, anxious exhaustion of a day spent fighting against your own life. It is the deep, satisfying tiredness of a traveler who has reached the end of a long, meaningful journey. You have traveled far and you have learned much. But the greatest lesson was the simplest one, that you have the power to create your own sanctuary. Tomorrow, the sun will rise, the world will move, and the demands will return. But you will be different. You will be a builder of fires, a tender of hearths, and a person who knows the value of a single deliberate stitch. You are ready to rest, secure in the knowledge that you have found your way home. The arrival of the new day brings with it a quality of light that feels unusually soft, filtering through the curtains with a gentle, persistent grace that speaks of morning's quiet promise. You awaken not with the jarring intrusion of a modern alarm, but with the subtle internal recognition that the cycle has turned once more. Lying in the stillness, you feel the lingering warmth of the blankets, a physical reminder of the protection that a well-crafted shelter provides against the vast, cooling reaches of the night. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated existence where the mind has not yet begun its daily construction of obligations and expectations. You are simply a person, awake in a room, breathing in the fresh, still air of a new day. In this space of pre-conscious clarity, you feel the Highland peace still residing within you, a steady, quiet core of resilience that didn't dissipate with the dawn. You rise and move through your home with an awareness that feels heightened, as if your senses have been polished by your time in the Croft. You notice the architecture of your morning ritual, the way your feet meet the floor, the temperature of the air, the specific individual sounds of your house waking up. Each action is an opportunity for presence. You move to the window and look out, and though the view is of a modern neighborhood, you see it through the lens of the landscape you traversed. The trees are not just landscaping, they are living, breathing entities. The sky is not just a backdrop, it is the immense unfolding canvas of the day. You find yourself smiling at the realization that the Highlands are not a destination you have left behind. but a perspective you have brought back into the world. You are in effect a traveler who has returned from a long journey with the landscape of the journey etched permanently onto your soul. In the kitchen, the process of preparing your morning coffee or tea becomes a masterclass in intentionality. You handle the vessels with a care that borders on the reverent, mindful of the weight of the ceramic, the flow of the water, and the transformation that occurs when the ingredients combine. This is the tailor's stitch. It is the understanding that when you apply yourself fully to the task at hand, the task itself becomes a source of calm rather than a demand upon your energy. You are no longer rushing toward a future point, you are residing in the process. This shift in focus is profound. It turns the morning routine from a race against the clock into a series of small, meaningful accomplishments. You are building the foundation of your day, and you are doing so with the precision and patience of one who understands the value of a solid, well-built seam. As you begin your work, whatever that may look like for you, you encounter the familiar pressures of your modern life, the emails, the notifications, the competing voices of demand. Yet there is a difference in your response. Before your journey, these things would have created a friction that felt like a drain on your spirit. Now they are merely external circumstances, like the wind against the thick stone walls of the Croft. They can blow, they can howl, they can try to find an opening, but the inner sanctuary remains insulated. You find that you can engage with the noise without becoming part of it. You can respond with clarity, with boundary, and with a measured, steady calm. You have discovered that you have the authority to decide what enters your inner space, and you're choosing to prioritize the clarity you found in the mountains. There is an immense freedom in this realization. You are no longer a victim of your digital environment. You are its master. You choose when to engage, how to respond, and when to close the door and return to the hearth. You realize that the modern world is not a monolith of demands. It is a landscape, just like the Highlands, that you must learn to navigate with your own set of tools. You have your tools now. You have the stillness. You have the focus. And you have the understanding that the most essential work is the work of maintaining your own peace. When you're at peace, your work is better, your relationships are deeper, and your presence in the world is more grounded and impactful. You are not withdrawing from life by finding this center. You are preparing yourself to live it more fully, more effectively, and more joyfully. As the day progresses, you find that you are operating with an efficiency that is born of stillness, because your mind is not scattered by anxiety, because your energy is not leaking into unnecessary worry. You have more focus to offer the tasks that actually matter. You are like the tailor who could sew a perfect seam in a dim room because they knew exactly where the needle needed to go. You are moving with the same quiet purpose, and when the evening finally begins to draw near, you find that you are not exhausted in the way you used to be. You are tired, yes, but it is a good, heavy, satisfying tiredness, the kind that comes from having spent your energy with intention. You have built something today, whether it was a project, a conversation, or simply the maintenance of your own soul, and that sense of completion is the ultimate reward. You are ready to close the curtains, to turn down the lights, and to return to the quietude of your own sanctuary, knowing that tomorrow the fire will still be there waiting to be rekindled. The steady, rhythmic accumulation of quietude has begun to reshape the very texture of your daily existence. You find that the frantic, jagged edges of the modern day, those sharp, sudden interruptions that once dictated your emotional state, are now being smoothed over by a pervasive internal composure. It is as if you have learnt the art of stone setting, carefully placing each interaction, each task, and each moment into a structure that can hold its own weight. When you sit down to begin your work, the transition is seamless. You are no longer forcing yourself into a state of productivity, but rather stepping into a space where your focus is already cultivated, ready and waiting to be applied. The memory of the Croft acts as a gravitational anchor, pulling you back to the essential, the simple and the profound. Whenever the superficial noise of the digital age attempts to pull you off course, there is a particular quiet joy in the performance of your daily duties. Now you see the grace in the mundane. Washing a dish becomes an act of clearing, a way to return an object to its purest state. Composing an email becomes a deliberate exercise in clarity and kindness. Organizing your space becomes a way of curating the environment that nurtures your spirit. This is the ultimate realization of the tailor's lesson, that there is no task too small or too insignificant to be worthy of your full, undivided attention. When you treat the act of living as a craft, you find that the world ceases to be a list of chores and instead becomes a vast open field of opportunity for practice. You are a practitioner of the present, and your home is the sacred space where that practice unfolds day after day in an endless, beautiful cycle of refinement. As you look around your space, you see how much you have intentionally curated. It is not just about the objects you own, but about the atmosphere you have created. You have kept the light soft, the surfaces clear, and the noise at a minimum. You have invited the qualities of the Croft into your modern life, not by replicating the physical stone and peat, but by replicating the essence of what those things represented: stability, honesty, and warmth. You have built a shelter for your mind. Whenever you step through your front door, you feel a tangible sense of dropping the heavy, invisible pack of external expectations. The internal walls of your sanctuary are thick, holding back the storm of the world, and within them, you are free to be exactly who you are, without the need for performance or mask. You have also begun to notice a change in your interactions with others, because you are no longer operating from a place of reactive stress. You are able to show up for the people in your life with a level of presence that was previously missing. You listen better, because your mind isn't busy rehearsing what you're going to say next. You offer more authentic empathy, because you aren't so preoccupied with your own defensive shields. You are becoming a person who provides a kind of quiet harbor for those around you, a grounding influence that invites others to drop their own masks and breathe more freely. This is the ripple effect of the peace you found in the Highlands. You didn't just go there to find it for yourself. You went there to learn how to carry it back, how to share it, and how to make it a part of the air you breathe. The realization that this peace is sustainable, that it is not a temporary vacation from reality but a durable, long-term foundation for living, fills you with a sense of quiet, confident hope. The modern world is not going to become less demanding, and the fog is not going to stop rolling in. But the knowledge that you have the tools to handle both, that you possess an internal hearth that can be lit whenever necessary, changes the nature of your journey. You are no longer navigating by the stars of external validation or the maps of social expectation. You are navigating by the steady internal pulse of your own quiet center. You have the needle, you have the thread, and you have the vision of the garment you are stitching. As the sun sets, casting long, familiar shadows across your room, you feel a profound sense of gratitude for the journey you took. It was a journey that took you far away in order to bring you closer to yourself. You have touched the past, you have felt the weight of the mountain, and you have sat in the silence of the Highland night. You have brought those things home, and they are now the mortar that holds your life together. Tomorrow will come, and the work will wait, but tonight you are in your sanctuary, secure in the knowledge that you have found what you were looking for. The fire is burning, the hearth is warm, and you are exactly, perfectly where you were meant to be. The quiet has become your native language, and you are finally speaking it with a voice that is entirely, authentically your own. The quiet of the late evening has a weight to it now, a comforting, familiar density that welcomes you into the final hours of the day. You are sitting by your window, watching the city transition from the high-energy rush of the evening to the softer, more subdued pace of the night. There is a symmetry between the Highlands and the city that you hadn't noticed before, a shared quietude that exists once the surface noise is stripped away. Both landscapes have their rhythms, and both respond to the presence of an observant, intentional heart. By acknowledging the stillness in the city, you are effectively turning your entire environment into a larger, more expansive version of the Croft. You are realizing that the sanctuary you built is not confined to the four walls of your home. It is a portable state of mind that travels with you, coloring your experience of the world wherever you go. Your mind, once prone to wandering into the dark alleys of hypothetical anxiety, now stays anchored in the present. You are learning to trust your own instincts, to rely on the solid ground of your own awareness. When challenges arise, and they will, as they do for everyone, you no longer treat them as personal catastrophes. You treat them as the weather. You see them for what they are, transient events that pass through the atmosphere of your life, because you have a hearth to return to, because you have the strength to build your own protections. You can face the wind without being moved by it. You are the mountain, not the mist. You are the stone, not the weather. This shift in identity is the final, most crucial element of your transformation. Consider the craft of your life in this moment. You are weaving together the disparate threads of your day, the conversations, the accomplishments, the frustrations, and the moments of wonder into a coherent, sturdy fabric. You aren't leaving anything out, you are integrating it all. You are making sense of your experience by giving it the space to exist. You are not trying to edit your life into a polished, perfect narrative. You are accepting it as it is, with all its beautiful, messy, and complex reality. This is the ultimate humble beauty of the tailor's work. They didn't make a garment for a king. They made a garment for a human. And your life, your daily existence, is a garment for you, and it is a masterpiece because it is real. As you look at your hands, you see them not just as tools of labor, but as the instruments of your own survival and your own soul's expression. They have held the tools of your trade, they have nourished you, and they have built the environment you inhabit. You feel a deep, quiet respect for these hands and for the life they have helped you construct. There is a dignity in the work of the hands, a physical, tangible connection to the reality of existence that is often lost in a world of ideas and screens. By honoring this connection, you are honoring the essence of being human. You are reminding yourself that you are a physical, biological creature, and that your health, your peace, and your sanity depend on your relationship with the physical world. The night is now deep, and the world outside is mostly asleep. In this absolute quiet, you feel a connection to the long, long line of ancestors who sat exactly where you are sitting, looking out at the world, pondering their place within it. You are part of an ancient, human legacy of finding shelter, finding meaning, and finding a moment of rest before the next sun rises. You are not just a modern individual, isolated and unique. You are a continuation of something vast, something ancient, and something deeply, inherently good. You are a human being, and you have the capacity for stillness, for reflection, and for love. That is enough. That is everything. As you prepare to end your day, the finality of the evening does not bring emptiness but a profound resonant clarity. The journey you took to the mountains was never about escaping your life, it was about discovering the architecture of your own soul. You realize now that you were never looking for a place to hide from the world, but a place to build your home so that you could face it fully. The Highland Croft remains in your heart, not as a memory of a distant landscape, but as a blueprint for your daily existence, a reminder that peace is found in the deliberate, steady work of the present moment. You stand up, your movements slow and deliberate, and you feel the weight of your journey settle into your bones, transforming into a quiet, unwavering strength. You walk to the center of your room, the space that you have claimed as your own. In the dim light, the walls seem to hold the warmth you have cultivated, the echoes of 1,000 intentional moments. You are no longer afraid of the morning, nor are you regretful of the fading day. You have mastered the art of arrival. You are standing exactly where you're supposed to be, not because the stars aligned or because your circumstances were perfect, but because you chose, with every stitch of your consciousness, to build a home within yourself. You close your eyes, taking one last deep breath of the still, cool air, and for the first time in your life, you know with absolute, unshakable certainty that you have nothing left to prove and nowhere left to run. You are finally, completely, and eternally home. And in this silence, you realize that the peace you were searching for was never a destination. It was the very person who walked the path to find it. You are the sanctuary, and that at last is the only truth that remains when the lights go out.
Sleepy History with Theodore is created for relaxation, entertainment, and sleep purposes. The stories shared on this channel are inspired by historical events, daily life, and real periods in history, but they may be simplified, adapted, or narrated in a calming way to enhance the listening experience. This content is not intended to be a precise academic or educational source. While we aim to stay generally accurate, some details may be altered for storytelling flow and relaxation. Please do not rely on this channel as a primary source for historical research or study. By listening, you acknowledge that this content is designed to help you unwind, relax, and fall asleep. Thank you for your understanding and support.